Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are live for another and special edition of NASCAR 6 Total Team Control on the channel. Today we have some Cup Series racing for you guys, and we have a NASCAR Cup Series double header. We're down to just 12 races to go to crowning a champion on this custom schedule season with a season-long points format. It's coming down to the wire between the top 7 right now. They're all within one race worth of points after the first 24 races. And again, with 2 races tonight, that means we're only going to have 10 races left to crown a champion once the checker flag falls in both races. And as far as the races today, I think they're going to be highly entertaining. 2 of the fastest tracks on the schedule is first we go to the California Speedway, of course now known as the Auto Club Speedway for the running of the Auto Club 250. Followed by the Golden Corral 250 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And we all know Atlanta was a great track, especially back in the early to mid 2000s. May see another classic Atlanta finish later on tonight. But the first race will be right here in California. Then we'll go to Atlanta for race 2. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet done so. Hit that like button as well if you haven't done so for tonight's stream. As we get into tonight's full race live stream. Well, I guess not a full race tonight, but 2 half races to make up for a full race live stream, realistic commentary, broadcast. Wade Selinsky, Blub, Earl Arnold Jr., Matthew Bruno Dorda, and others welcome into the stream. We have 2 50% races coming your way in this doubleheader tonight. The third and final 50, third and fourth final 50% races of the season. And this is going to be a tough race for Greg Biffle at Auto Club today. It's a track he won at in real life in 2005. But you guys saw the Busch Series race at Auto Club just earlier on. I should say last weekend we ran at Auto Club. I think it was on Saturday night. Unfortunately, we finished 14th. It was the only run we had outside the top 10. So this is not a track that I typically run pretty well at. Going with the downforce here. We'll see what it's like for qualifying. And then obviously into the race from there. And we have to be good from the get-go because qualifying is going to matter both races today, knowing that we're getting late in the season and these are 2 sprint races at that. Probably going to see 1 or 2 pit stops in both races today. Probably lean towards 2 in the first race and then 2 or 3 pit stops in race 2. Pretty good lap for Greg Biffle. A lot better in turns 3 and 4 than what he was down in 1 and 2. Working his way towards that start-finish line. 12th quickest with a 38.530 on lap 1. Wasn't super aggressive off the exit of turn 4. But he has secured at least a decent starting spot. Just going to really try to go for it here on lap number 2. Pretty good through 1 and 2. A lot better than what he was on the opening lap through turns 1 and 2. Now he's got to enter into turns 3 and 4 pretty well. Pushed it maybe just a bit too hard. Not as good through 3 and 4 as he was the last lap. Cutting down to the apron as he cuts to the line, a 38.529, a little bit quicker on that second lap, but it's still only good enough for 12th. And your pole sitter for race 1 tonight will be Jimmy Johnson, who's trying to go for his first win of the season. We had a wild race 2 nights ago at Texas in the last race. 17 cautions in that one, but it was a wild kind of changing roulette wheel of different leaders late in that race. And Greg Biffle already kind of spinning the tires off the start. And he did not take off well as a result. And look at him quickly fall backwards. Jimmy Johnson gets to the lead and leads the field off of turn 2. That was not a good start for Biffle. Quickly going to get down to the bottom on the backstretch heading into turn 3 underneath the 10. Scott Riggs don't want to touch that apron. We saw how loose the cars were getting in that Busch race the other night. Lap 1 going to be in the books, and Jimmy Johnson will lead the opening lap of the race. 11 different winners, and we just had Bobby Labonte get his first win of the season in the most recent race at Texas, where he led only the final 9 laps of that 500-mile event. Greg Biffle down below on Jamie McMurray, and already Greg Biffle has crashed in the early going. Car got tight in the middle of the corner as he was underneath the 42. You could really see in the middle of the corner his car just jump up the racetrack. And at these high-rated speeds, at this fast 2-mile oval, there was no chance to catch it. And an early wreck, for Greg Biffle on lap 2. 48K Forgotten, welcome to the stream as well. Mark DeMars and Billy Kramer also welcome. And yes, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Final stream before Thanksgiving tomorrow night. And we will not be streaming tomorrow night as well. Taking the night off. A lot of damage on the 16 car already, and that's going to likely knock a lot of speed out of the race car, you'd have to imagine. And he'll be going to the tail end of the field. Got the Mr. Clean crew. We made some mistakes on 3 pit stops in the last race at Texas. I was like, you know what? No more mistakes on pit road. We hired the Mr. Clean crew late in the season. I don't know. I didn't feel like I drove it in that deep. I just felt the car get really tight. Middle of the corner. Because it was center of the corner before the car really jumped up the track where he wrecked with McMurray. The green flag is going to be back in the air. I don't think Greg Biffle has the restart gear, and he spun his tires on the first start. He didn't spin his tires that time, although his tires are older because of the spin. And Kurt Busch going to get to the lead, it looks like, on Jimmy Johnson, who led those first handful of laps. 1 under green, 1 under, well, handful under caution. But now Kurt Busch trying to lead his first lap of the race. So he sits third in the point standings. Rookie Carl Edwards still leading in points. It is a, yep. It is a pit crew. Sizzy, welcome into the stream also. This is not a long race, and that is not something you would have wanted if you're Greg Biffle. That's going to wear those tires out for this opening run as well. Big advertisement for Mr. Clean, yep. You bet. We're still sponsorless here on the channels. They're not paying me anything though. NASCAR 2406 fan, thanks for tuning in. Jimmy Johnson fighting back for the lead. They're losing it initially to Kurt Busch. And I think that 48 car is going to be tough to beat. Qualified towards the front. I think the guys that will qualify towards the front, both races, are going to definitely be the ones to beat today. Of course, Johnson seems to be that guy in race 1 of our doubleheader. Got to work on just getting good, consistent finishes. I got to pull my inner Kyle Busch out of me. Like, we've been doing so good with consistency in the Busch series, even if I'm not winning a lot of races. We're finishing well. This, I'm either winning or I'm breaking the car. Like, there's no in between. That's why we're 4th in points right now. We're not leading like we are with Kyle Busch in the Busch series. We've had a lot more races, but 5 DNFs this season. With 10 wins, and that's why we're where we're at in points. Now, we're only 73 back. But with 12 races to go and running in last place right now through 10 laps, after having to go to the rear after wrecking, that's tough. And we know when the tires fall off at this racetrack, it's going to be a handful just to try to hang on to the car. The more damage you have, the worse it's going to be. So not good for Biffle. Going to have to probably try some sort of pit strategy today. Everybody's going to have to pit 2 times. We will have a little bit of an accelerated pit window just because this is a 50% race, so everything's going to be kind of minimized with how much fuel these guys can take during the course of a full run. Greg Biffle down on the bottom. Scott Wimmer gave him plenty of room to make that corner through turns 1 and 2, but it's the dirty air where Greg Biffle's going to be really tight. Will contact 3 wide just up ahead into turn 3. Boris said making contact with the 08 car of Shane Meal. Surprised he kept it off the 11 of Leffler, who was still on the outside. At least Biffle still got speed to pass the cars at the back of the field. A little too low off of turn 2. Martin Truex Jr. towards the tail end of the field. Had a hot streak going into that race 2 nights ago, I should say, at Texas. In the Cup Series. 3 straight top 10s before that. Couldn't keep that streak alive, though. One of many to get involved in an accident in that race. We're going to have to jump through the field passes pretty quickly today, with it only being 125 and 164 laps of both races. So when we get to the start-finish line this next time by, we'll take the first field pass of the race. Ashley Moy, thanks for tuning in. We actually used both of them in the Busch Series at once. Those last 20 laps, while Kyle Busch was leading them, we were good to go for about the last 13 laps or so with Busch. And we'll go to Matt Kenseth in the 17 car first. He is in 21st place. He's got his teammate Mark Martin right in front of him. Martin underneath Brian Vickers in the 25. Vickers really holding Mark down the racetrack quite a bit as they side draft each other. Kenseth's going to try to go to the outside 3 wide into turn 3. Back the corner up, though, and chopped down to the middle, so he was looking high. Really backed the corner up, let the 25 and the 6 go so he could beat him back to the throttle. That allows him to clear Vickers and get underneath the 6 of Martin for 19th. Great move by Kenseth. Kenseth just got his first win 2 races ago at the Texas Roval. Roush Fenway Racing won 6 consecutive races up until last night I keep saying last night, 2 nights ago at Texas. Again, race winner in that one is Bobby Labonte. It's only the 3rd win for Joe Gibbs Racing. First for the 18. Tony Stewart has 2 wins, both on super speedways and both at Daytona. The Pepsi 400 and the Daytona 500, those are Stewart's only wins. Kenseth got a little tight. Right in line behind the 12 of Newman. Newman really chopped Kenseth off in the middle of the corner also. Slight contact made. Newman blocking to the top in the tri-oval as well. I did do a custom schedule season in Thunder 04. It was with Biffle. Gosh, that's all Ryan Newman. He was squeezing Matt Kenseth so far down off of turn 2, and Kenseth clipped the apron. And then when he clipped the apron, he kind of overcorrected into Newman. And that's just cruel. And Kenseth's all the way back to 36th. Great save off turn 2, but it really doesn't matter. He's lost so much track position now. I mean, I couldn't go any lower. I clipped the apron trying to keep it off of him. Kenseth up the middle, 3 wide. While that's going on, we'll go to Kurt Busch in the 97, who's up towards the front of the field. How about Jeff Burton in second with Travis Kvapil third place? Kvapil finished third at the Texas Roval a couple races ago. Kurt going to let Elliott Sadler go into turn 3. Sadler kind of protecting that inside lane. Kurt is in 5th right now, right in front of Kyle Busch. And points leader, Carl Edwards in 6th. Not good for Greg Biffle that the 3, I guess, drivers now that are in front of him in points are all running in the top 7. And he is back further in the field, and even qualified 12th, a little bit behind those other 3. Burton might be holding these guys up, but Jimmy Johnson is really pulling away from everybody. Brandon Martinez, thanks for tuning in. Sadler got a little tight in the center of the corner that time behind the 77 of Travis Kvapil. Kurt Busch to the inside of Sadler now. Sadler going down the track to try and side draft Busch. Down to 105 laps to go. The California Speedway. Still side by side into turns 1 and 2. How about Kvapil going for second? Now Sadler's trying to squeeze the 97 of Busch. And Busch into Jeff. That was almost exactly what happened to Matt Kenseth with Ryan Newman. Sadler gave Busch a little bit more room than what Kenseth got, but it wasn't by much. And I think Jeff Burton got the worst of that contact because he falls back to 6th, excuse me. And Kurt's in 4th. Kurt really only lost 1 spot there, but now he's 3 seconds off the lead. What's with the AI tonight? First at Texas in the last Cup race, they were wrecking like crazy, but now tonight, they're just not giving me any room. They're giving me room at 3 and 4, but 1 and 2, especially towards the exit of turn 2, they are chopping me off so much. Like, I have the position. It's gonna trying to make passes going forward not only more difficult, but it's almost just a matter of, do you want to actually try to make the pass? Luckily, we're not getting any more cautions. We had that wreck on lap 2, but that's been it. Earl Arnold Jr., thanks for tuning in as well. Derek Booth, welcome. It's in the community tab. If you're talking about the poll for the Throwback Thursday stream, which will not be tomorrow night. Again, that will be on Friday this week. Or Throwback Thursday Classic NASCAR watch-along. Of course, doing the Daytona 500s during the off-season, but it'll be Friday this week rather than Thursday. Heard a little arrow loose with his teammate Carl Edwards right behind him. And we'll go to Carl Edwards in the 99 car next. Lap 25. I'm not even going to try to pass Kurt. Risk bringing out another caution. I would imagine that teammates will probably race each other a little bit better. You would think. Especially these two in the top 3 in points. Try to make it a clean battle amongst themselves for the championship. Oh yeah. Gonna be eating a lot of food tomorrow, not just turkey. I'm saying this right now. I think we're going to get a new winner today. And we may get an upset winner. Because Travis Kvapil is in second place still. And we only have 100 laps to go with this being a 50% race. Is he going to pull off a miracle in that Penske number 77 Dodge? because that would be something. Tony Stewart's worked his way up to 6th. It's like side by side for 2nd right now. And Jimmy Johnson leading a bunch of laps. Kurt led for a few laps after the restart. Led about 2 or 3 laps, and then Jimmy Johnson got back around him. And I think Carl Edwards has the fastest car for Roush Fenway Racing based off of handling, because his handling in his car feels a lot more stable than both Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch, and Greg Biffle's. Biffle a little too tight. Kurt Busch, Matt Kenseth a little too loose. Some of that might have been because of contact from the car that are outside at the time of squeezing him. See skid marks from both Kurt Busch and Matt Kenseth. Fortunately, Kenseth fell all the way towards the back. Kurt Busch was able to at least stay in 4th. And even though Jeff Burton lost a few positions on his own as well, it wasn't all that bad. Carl Edwards to the inside of Kurt Busch. Halfway through the opening fuel run, we'll go back to Mark Martin in the 6th car next. And right now he's in 26th. And Matt Kenseth actually just got back around Mark Martin, so it goes to show that Kenseth's got a pretty quick race car today. Joshua Rumsey also welcome into the stream. Martin stuck on the outside right now into turns 3 and 4, still from 1 and 2. Joe Nemechek in the 01 car underneath. Nemechek still not clear, though, off of turn 4. Martin still on the outside. 8 seconds right now off the race lead is Martin. Nemechek finally clears his 6. Martin again to the outside, though, off turn 2. Side drafting Nemechek a little more aggressively on the back straightaway now. Maybe a little too aggressively as he made contact with him. Nemechek crowding the 6 back up the racetrack, though. And Martin's lifting. He was going to get crowded all the way into the wall. I could feel that. You could see how wide Nemechek went off the exit of turn 4. He was giving Mark Martin no room. Some of it might have been, though, because Martin squeezed him on the backstretch a bit, too. But the AI are just so aggressive today. Martin a little low off turn 2. Got very loose as a result. He'll go back up to try to block Rusty Wallace on the back straightaway for 27 still. Wallace to the inside with a run into turns 3 and 4. Martin carries enough momentum off turn 4. Looking to the inside of Nemechek on the front stretch. And Martin's going to be able to power past front row Joe in the middle of 1 and 2. Careful clipping that apron as we get into the second half of this run, as Martin is in right now. Well, the whole field is in. Nobody has made any pit stops yet. The only caution we had was at lap 2. Too early for anybody to want to pit. Well, contact off turn 4. Saw some sparks flying up there. And we will go back to Greg Biffle in the 16. And actually, Biffle's gained quite a few spots back as he's in the 15th place position right now. He started in 12th. Had that accident with Jamie McMurray. He's back to 15th. He's still 6 seconds, though, off the race lead. But he's at least within drafting range of the 21 car of Ricky Rudd. And we've got one car who has just blown up and is on his way to pit road off of turn 4. Curious to see who that is. And we are not going to be able to tell. They are in the pits, though. If we're trying to stay in the draft with Rudd. In the tri-oval. Really low exit to turn 2, and then back up in line behind Rudd on the back straightaway. got to run underneath the 21. He almost didn't really want to pass him that time because he wasn't close enough to either Labonte or Harvick in front of him to try to stay with the draft of those two cars on the straightaway. I think with the damage for Greg Biffle, it's going to be hard for him to really pull out a line and try to make a pass without any drafting help from behind or in front. Almost similar to a super speedway, and kind of similar really to what we saw out of Kyle Busch in the Busch Series race at Talladega last night. A lot of bottom was open into turns 1 and 2. Biffle not looking to pass right now. He's going to have faith in his pit crew for tonight's races, knowing the Mr. Clean crew is back for the first time since our NASCAR 05 gameplay. It's been a long time coming. Biffle looking low off turn 4 underneath Rudd again. Rudd probably in the draft, though, behind Kevin Harvick, and that's going to allow him to keep in front of Greg Biffle. Biffle not really closing in on Jimmy Johnson either. He's still kind of stuck at 6.1 to 6.2 seconds off the lead on a consistent basis. Quarter tank of gas left at this point in the run. Wondering when we may see some cars pitting. Ricky Rudd will pit from right in front of Greg Biffle that time. Carl Edwards to the lead. Jimmy Johnson just pitted. 5 bonus points for Edwards, leading his first lap of the night. Mark Martin also on pit road. Biffle drove it in really flat into turn 1. Wasn't bad. We'll have a little 4-tire stop for Greg Biffle whenever he does decide to pit. Not sure exactly how far he wants to go on fuel. It may even be a 3-stop race today. Tony Stewart just led his first lap with Edwards pitting from the lead now. So 5 bonus points for Stewart as well. Also another driver in the top 10 in points. Only drivers in the top 10 in points have led tonight. Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, and now Tony Stewart. Not in that exact order, but they all have led. And Biffle coming in. And coming in hot. Try to get all the time he can. And that was a great pit road entry for Greg Biffle. It'll be 4 tires and fuel for the 16. No adjustments on this stop. So 4 tires and fuel for Greg Biffle. We'll see where he'll cycle. Calling an upset. The Lions beat the Bills tomorrow. The Lions are playing some good football. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm definitely taking the Lions tomorrow for the over-under at 9.5. I think they can cover the spread at least. Plus Buffalo on a short week while basically playing on the road last week as well. There goes Jimmy Johnson. You can tell how big of a lead he has. And he's extended it through pit stops. we're going to take our second and final field pass of the day next time by. Believe everybody has cycled through. Green flag stops right now. And from when everybody pitted there, it's looking like it's going to be pretty close to a four-stop race. Or sorry, pretty close to a three-stop race today. So originally was thinking 2. Probably looking at 3 depending on how the cautions play the rest of the way. If we have any cautions. Biffle staying right in front of Ryan Newman. And we will transfer to Kurt Busch in the 97. Just getting both field passes in this first race out of the way as soon as we can. It looks as if Kurt Busch is within drafting range of Tony Stewart in the 20. Stewart in 3rd, Kurt Busch in 4th after green flag pit stops. These two are 4 seconds off the lead from Jimmy Johnson, who still has a lot of clean air. And nowhere close to any lap traffic still. Stewart blocking off the exit of turn 4, trying to hang on for all the track position he can. Fastest lap for any Roush car that last lap, 38.134 for Kurt Busch. Took the apron just a bit in turns 1 and 2, but I think his car should be alright still. Chiefs will destroy the Rams this week. Yeah, Rams are not playing good football. Stafford might be out too. Likely be a pretty good win for him. You never know, though. 80 to go. 38.131. Stewart and Busch are a little bit faster than the leaders up at the front of the field. Not sure who's in 2nd right now. Anytime the Cowboys lose, I'm happy. Sounds like Boris Said, who blew an engine earlier on in the race, is coming back out. He might have been that first driver that we saw blew an engine earlier. There's one other car on pit road right now that is also out during this green flag run, so that's why Said is back on the track. If he runs enough laps, which he should be able to, we're still in the first half of this race yet, that he should be able to at least pick up a position, maybe more if we have more DNFs. Not having to go 500 miles at California like in real life in 2005. So it might be a little bit easier on these engines as a result. 38.092 that last lap for Kurt Busch. We're going to go back to the 17 of Matt Kenseth, who is in 11th place right now. We're about to get passed, it looks like, by Jeff Gordon for that 11th place spot. Kenseth kind of lets Gordon go. Kenseth's made his way back up pretty quick. I think he's got a really fast car. It's definitely a little edgy, but loose is fast if he can hang on to it. And he barely held on to it in that first run. How the Giants lost to the Lions. I mean, the Lions are playing really good. I know the two teams they beat before that were the Bears and the Packers. And those two teams aren't doing too good this year. But they played good against them. I mean, you can't fault them for playing those teams. It's just how the schedule is. Just so happens to be two teams in their division. And they got the job done. They beat them. So back-to-back road wins for the Lions, too. Jeff Gordon, Matt Kenseth slowly catching up to the 19 of Jeremy Mayfield. Kenseth out of line, trying to make a pass on Gordon into turns 1 and 2, trying to get that 11th spot back after Gordon passed him a couple laps ago. Kenseth's going to be clear off of turn 2. Doesn't have to worry about getting crowded off turn 2, making a pass that time when he's all clear by the time he gets to the exit of the corner. Disruption Pamby. Furry Unfairness Furry 9498. Welcome to the stream. That's it. That's an interesting. I think it's Fury. Is it Fury Unfairness? Either way, welcome to the stream. Christopher McComas, welcome as well. Hail to the Commanders. I remember the Iceberg on a NASCAR Weekly podcast stream earlier this year calling them the Washington Commies. Ever since I heard that, I thought that was hilarious, so I started calling them that. It is Furry, isn't it? Fury is F-U-R-Y, I believe. If my English diction is correct. Driving as Mark Martin for about 4 laps now. He is last of the Roush Fenway Fords in 18th. His teammate Greg Biffle just a couple spots ahead in 16th. I mean, I guess Bambi is furry. Mark Martin with a quick closing rate on Dale Jr. Hits his marks perfectly in turns 1 and 2, makes the pass. And up to 17th. A little loose after I clipped the apron in the middle of the corner. I still was trying to catch it by the exit of turn 4. Looked like I was all over the place. That I was trying to... oh boy. Yeah, gotta be careful. I'm getting a little too low consistently. I was looking at the chat because it said I got disconnected and then reconnected randomly. Now these cars are going to be catching Boris said. That could be a difference maker on how they catch them. That'd be a great opportunity to catch up as well as pass cars for position. Borisset is many laps down. He blew an engine earlier, but is back in this race. He's down a cylinder. And he's just trying to make laps and get as many spots as he can before the end for whoever else may have problems, both mechanically and potentially wreck out as well. If you're just tuning in for the first time, it's our first race of the doubleheader. Our second race will be at Atlanta. And then after tonight's races, we'll have just 10 to go. No chaser playoff format here, though. Full season points format, so the points will not be reset after tonight's races. So the consistency tonight still matters all the way through the end of the season. It's Greg Biffle pulling out of line, trying to make a pass on Jeff Burton. He's on his inside. We'll go to Carl Edwards in the 99. So he runs in 6th. There's Boris Set on the outside of the racetrack. Sadler kind of got held up by him a bit. I think Jimmy Johnson's lead is started to shrink over the course of this long green flag run. We have already made green flag pit stops. Biffle pitted at lap 41. Pretty much everybody pitted between laps 38 and 42. Johnson has led all but really a couple laps during green flag pit stops where Carl Edwards and Tony Stewart were able to lead a couple laps. And then Kurt Busch led on the only restart we had today with a caution on lap 2. Involving Greg Biffle and Jamie McMurray. Biffle still in the race, but has tried to rally. Qualified 12th. He's up to about really 15th, 16th, and he's been kind of stuck there ever since he got there. Some of it's the damage to his car. Some of it, I don't even know that he necessarily has a top 10 car today at the California Speedway on speed. Some of his teammates do, some of them don't. He's not the only Roush Fenway Ford outside the top 10. Kurt Busch is in third. He was able to get by Stewart during this run. And Sadler and Edwards about 2.8 seconds off of race leader Jimmy Johnson. They're definitely closing in on Stewart, Busch, and whoever that second place car is a little bit further up ahead as well. Say they were drafting pretty well together, but Edwards going to pull out a line, try to side draft Sadler in the middle of the tri-oval. Sadler will stay in front of him, though. And this could be a season-defining win for Johnson. He's still in the championship hunt despite no wins. He's been really right around the top 5 in points, pretty much 4th to 6th most of the season. But if he can just get that win, it's a big monkey off his back and trying to chase for the championship in these final 11 races. Who knows, maybe he's strong at Atlanta too and tries to go for the sweep tonight. Started on the pole, he's really dominated this race, and we're almost halfway home already. Stewart has gotten back by Kurt Busch for third in his pursuit of the top 2. We will go back to Greg Biffle at the start-finish line for the rest of this race. Edward pulling out a line, trying to make a pass on Sadler. Side by side are the top 2 in the point standings for 5th. Off turn 4 as they continue to side draft through the tri-oval. So Sadler with a block, he holds clear. Greg Biffle in 15th with his teammate Mark Martin behind him, and the 21 car Ricky Rudd right in front of him. 8.1 seconds off of Jimmy Johnson right now is Biffle. Likely 2 more pit stops left in this race. At least 1, maybe 2. We'll have our trivia question in a couple laps. We'll have 2 of them tonight, 1 in each race. We'll start off with the California Speedway track fact. Ricky Rudd battling Jeremy Mayfield for position through the tri-oval. Rudd pulling down to the inside. Underneath Mayfield into turns 1 and 2. Biffle trying to stay close to the 21, hoping he doesn't get tight in the middle of the corner. He does not. Kind of clipped the apron a little bit, but a great corner clears Mayfield barely off of turn 2. For 14th. So he's found a drafting partner, a fellow Ford, the Wood brothers. And Mark Martin also to the inside of Mayfield through 3 and 4. So put all the Roush cars in the top 15 if Martin can make the pass. He's not clear yet. Still side by side in the tri-oval. You're right, Mark. We just got to get a good finish. It's like the leaders slowly catching up to Boris said. Remember, it was a slow lap car down a cylinder that helped Greg Biffle win on a 2-mile track earlier this year at Michigan. It was the last lap pass for the win where Biffle went from 4th to 1st in the final quarter of a lap. And he was 3 wide by the exit of turn 4, battling Sadler and Gordon for the win. Beat Gordon by inches. What was the closest finish of the season so far? One of, I believe, only 2 side-by-side finishes we've had this year. I say only, I mean, that's actually pretty impressive. We've had 2. Only in the Cup Series, though, so I guess that's for the truck, the Busch, and the Cup Series. We've only had 2, and they've both been to the Cup side. That was Casey Kane? I just automatically assumed that was Jeremy Mayfield. My bad. I think Johnson got caught behind Borisette because now the lead's down to 7 seconds. Either that or Ricky Rudd, Greg Biffle, and Mark Martin are that quick all of a sudden. This allows Biffle to save a bit of fuel as well, sitting behind Rudd. Lap 65 right now. We'll have 60 to go this time by. It's a little past halfway, and he's halfway on fuel during this point in the run. He's conserved a little bit more. Kenneth Clark, thanks for tuning in as well. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. Set down on the apron of the racetrack. He'll pit this time, so that group up in front of both Rudd and Biffle not going to have to worry about Boris said like Jimmy Johnson may have had to. It's a 6.5 second lead for Johnson over where we have Biffle running right now, as Biffle's on the inside of Rudd. A little contact. Biffle wasn't trying to make contact with Rudd. It's going to stall both cars out a little bit. Luckily, they keep control. Biffle on the bottom through 3 and 4 still. Clears Rudd off turn 4, the little slide job. Rudd with the crossover down to the bottom. Said leaving the pits on the apron of the track. Biffle cuts down right in front of Mark Martin. And right behind the 21 as he wanted to hop right back in line. Didn't want to lose any more spots and waste any more time. Bobby Labonte, Kevin Harvick, Jeff Gordon, one of the 3 cars up there. I think Ryan Newman's also in that group. Some just inside and some just outside the top 10 of those that are just listed. I think Travis Quaffle might be up there as well. Quaffle was in second, lost the lead. And speaking of losing the lead, Kyle Busch is out in front as he has caught and passed Jimmy Johnson during this long green flag run. I guess the only car that could possibly be fast enough to catch and beat Jimmy Johnson today is a fellow Hendrick teammate, and Kyle Busch trying to be that driver. He got his first career win in real life at Auto Club in his rookie season, and he's trying to do it here today as well. That'd be kind of fitting if that did end up actually happening. Biffle to the inside of Rudd. Shouldn't have to worry about getting tight. No car directly in line in front of him. Pass made for Greg Biffle as he gets by Rudd for 13th. I don't know that he's close enough behind these cars in front of him. But he's hoping with them side by side they're going to slow each other up. Labonte to the inside of Harvick. Kenseth on the outside line. He did not move to the bottom to follow the 18 as Labonte has cleared Kevin Harvick. I think Biffle's just close enough to try to draft behind Kenseth. We'll alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in the race today as well. For the next dozen laps or so. Biffle closing in on his teammate Matt Kenseth for 12th. Labonte's closing in on Jeff Gordon as well. I definitely think we're going to get a different winner. Johnson, Busch, both without wins. And they're running first and second. If you combine the laps that Johnson has already led, plus the laps that Busch is leading and may continue to lead, depending on how the next set of green flag pit stops go, of course, which are going to be happening fairly soon. I'd be surprised if we see cars pitting within the next 5 to 10 laps. We're just kind of sitting behind the 17 car of Matt Kenseth right now. Gordon going extremely wide. He's lost a couple spots to Harvick and Labonte through 3 and 4. Kenseth closing quick to his back bumper off of turn 4. Kenseth down to block his teammate Biffle. Gordon hesitated, thought about blocking Kenseth. Biffle to the inside of the 17 as he heads for turn 1. He's got cars in front of him trying to make sure he doesn't get tight. Biffle did a great job making that corner, clears Kenseth for 12th. He's slowly working his way up there. Trying to back that corner up on Gordon. Almost allowed Kenseth to get underneath him, but not quite. Gordon still able to stay in front of the 16 regardless. Mike Bliss in this group just up ahead as well. With a little wide through turns 1 and 2. Wasn't trying to run that line. Gordon completely chops him off turn 2. We've seen a lot of drivers blocking, especially off turn 2 today. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about the trivia question. Today's trivia question on the channel is going to be this. Which driver has the fastest pole time in Auto Club history in the NASCAR Cup Series? So who has the track record at Auto Club in the NASCAR Cup Series? That is tonight's trivia question on the channel. You don't have to name the year that it happened, just the driver. I think Newman just got by Bliss right before we really started to close in on this pack of cars in front of us as well. Mark Martin's already pitted, as a few cars are on pit road right now. We're seeing green flag pit stops lap 74 already. Kyle Busch continues to stay out. Matt Kenseth has just pitted from behind Biffle. 50 to go this time by. Labonte on the inside of Kevin Harvick for position. Oh, Gordon crowds Biffle. Extreme contact there off of turn 2. Biffle hangs on to the race car. We stay green. Kurt Busch to the lead as he gets around his brother Kyle. That's the third time Arash Fenway Ford has been blocked off the exit of turn 2 today. Biffle didn't get as loose as his teammates did earlier, but he definitely had a little bit of a moment there. And Billy Kramer did get the question correct in the chat first. The answer is Jimmy Johnson. I saw Jeff Gordon, that was not correct. Jimmy Johnson has the track record at Auto Club. And I think Boris said is holding up a bunch of cars on the outside, and Greg Biffle's gaining a bunch of spots down into turn 3. He gets blocked by Ryan Newman, but Biffle is able to get around the 0, 29, and 18. Newman pits as well now, so Biffle will clear him off turn 4 as well. And I think that might have been why Newman was really trying to block, because he was wanting to pit that time. Jeff Gordon got by all those guys too. Biffle saw Gordon move down and thought he'd better move down too. And it looks like Gordon will be pitting this time off of turn 4. Biffle's going to try to go as far as he can. His best chance to win this race may be on fuel mileage, and I think he is thinking that maybe he can make it. Of course, we have to stay green long enough as well to get to that point. Kurt Busch still out in front. Greg Biffle has not led a lap yet today as well. Mike Bliss, Kevin Harvick closing in behind Biffle. Biffle stays in front. Harvick pits. Bliss will stay out. Kurt Busch also stays out. So Biffle not the only one staying out of the pits here as long as he possibly can. I'm sure everybody's trying to. These are the drivers that were probably able to draft the most and save the most fuel during this run. 1/8 of a tank of fuel left for Greg Biffle this point in the run. We've seen fuel mileage races at California Speedway before, typically in 400 and 500 mile races, maybe not 250 mile races. Bliss to the inside of Biffle. Biffle giving him room. Not sure if Bliss will pit this time or not. Off of turn 4, still unaware if Bliss even pitted or not. Biffle leads that lap at the line. And Bliss did pit, so Bliss pit, as well did Kurt Busch, and Greg Biffle has now led his first lap of the race tonight from the 12th place starting position. And is trying to make it a 2-stop race. Biffle staying out again off of turn 4. The only other thing that we could try doing is we go fuel only. And I'm thinking about doing it. If we go fuel only and then take 4 tires on the final run to the checker, I think Biffle's got a shot to cycle out quite a bit ahead. He's going to pit this time. And Biffle off of turn 4 coming in. It'll be a fuel-only stop. Did a great job entering pit road without locking the tires up. And it's not going to be much fuel either. It's going to be a half a can splash and go for Greg Biffle, which will not have him in the pits very long. It's risky, but risky is my middle name tonight. Mr. Clean Crew going to engage the fuel can. Quick stop for Greg Biffle. Splash and go for the Biff. Trying to gain some track position at the California Speedway. And hoping to cycle to the lead. Boris said not that far out in front of Greg Biffle. Terry Labonte just got by him. Biffle even on much older tires still. Boris said chopping Biffle off a little bit. Biffle had half his car down to the apron on the front stretch to get by said, but did not stay on the outside. So Biffle continues to lead after a splash and go only stop. He stayed out as long as he could. He went fuel only. Now he leads by about 1.3 seconds. And Boris said now starting to hold up second on back on the back straightaway as well. So the plan was to go fuel only there, so that way he'll end up making a 4-tire pit stop at some point during this run. But when do you make that stop is going to be the question. We're down to 41 laps to go. A risky pit strategy for Biffle. Just hoping that the tires are going to hang on. He's taking care of his tires fairly well today. I'd say a lot better than what we did with Kyle Busch in the Busch Series race on Saturday night. Well, drafting help on the back straightaway behind Terry Labonte. Labonte's not going to be fast enough for Biffle to just sit behind, though. Biffle trying to make a pass on him as he's on the inside of Terry Labonte through turns 3 and 4, but he has not cleared him off the exit of the corner. Trying to get away from Labonte on the front stretch. Breaking that draft a little bit. 1.2 second lead still into turns 1 and 2. Biffle was able to go 40 laps on fuel, so that window may be open to the end of the race. So go just a couple more to make sure he's good on fuel. And honestly, if he's still in the lead, which there's contact there with Terry Labonte, and that's not going to help the 16. Eight-tenths of a second lead. Terry Labonte's really slowing Greg Biffle up. Biffle's got too old of tires. He can't get around him. Labonte definitely squeezed Biffle a little bit there as well. Looks like Tony Stewart's up to second. I'm probably picking Ohio State to win. Michigan's a little banged up. And I think Ohio State's got a slightly better team. But I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan won. If it's a low-scoring game, I think Michigan's going to have their number. But if it's a shootout, they're not going to be able to hold on. Biffle really loose into turn 1. He entered so deep into the corner. Right rear tire really wearing out. Blocking Stewart on the back straightaway now as well. Trying not to give up the race lead at all costs. Big run through 3 and 4 to the inside of Labonte. But again, can't clear the 44, and that Kellogg Chevrolet of Terry Labonte has been holding up Biffle for quite some time. And Stewart all over the back of the 16 in the middle of the corner. Biffle slides up the track on those older tires, and Tony Stewart will take over the lead off of turn 2. Biffle getting really loose off turn 2. Hangs on to the race car, and he's going to pit this time. Window is open. He's not going to go another lap. He's already lost the lead. He's very loose after going fuel only. Sadler to the inside of Tony Stewart. So it'll be a 4-tire stop for Greg Biffle as he is back in this race and really in it to win it for the first time today. Another great pit road entry. It'll be a 4-tire stop. A full tank of fuel this time for Greg Biffle. And what a crazy strategy call. A little unorthodox for the 16 team to go fuel only and splash and go at that. Only putting a half a can in. Now he'll go top it off, full tank, take 4 tires this time. And he's going to have an advantage by running on fresher tires for a bit longer period of time. And hope that by the time everybody else pits, they're going to be trying to play catch up again at the end of the race. And he's got enough of a lead that he can hang on. And obviously having to hope that this race continues to stay green for this long green flag run, because he's about to go a lap down as Sadler has taken the race lead away. Jimmy Johnson cycled back in 4th. And Kyle Busch in 5th. Busch was the leader when the pit stop started. Johnson was originally in 2nd. This is a Hail Mary type strategy call, but I'm liking it. If it stays green, this is going to be a genius move to try and win this race. This is insane. We were outside the top 10. What were we in? 12th? 12th place when the green flag stop started? And I was in 12th. I qualified 12th. I mean, that was as high as we had ran all race. We stayed out as long as we could on fuel during the second to last fuel run, which would have been technically the second tire stint of the race. We went fuel only, half can, went from 12th to 1st. We were about 6 seconds off the lead at 12th. We ended up with about a 1.3 second lead in the lead. Held on for about 6 or 7 laps. Tony Stewart takes the lead away from Biffle. Biffle pits first lap after Stewart taking the lead away. Now he has about 6 to 7 lap fresher tires than the rest of the field, trying to play a little bit of catch up. He was about a half a second, maybe a little more than that off the lead. So he's got slightly fresher tires, if that's going to help at all. And just hoping that he could cycle back out in front again here on the final stop. They're not going to pit until, if I had to guess, somewhere between lap 110 and 120. Yeah, pit road violation. Crew members not wearing the proper safety equipment. Got the Mr. Clean crew. So that is what we are dealing with here in this first race of the doubleheader. And this would be a brilliant strategy call for Greg Biffle, who had really, he didn't even have top 10 speed tonight. So that is a brilliant call. Still gonna have to deal with Borisset a handful more times here before the end of the race. He's down a cylinder, very slow. Biffle could try to capitalize and gain even more time that way as well. Big run on the 08 of Shane Meal in the backstretch, who is a lap down. Biffle gets by Borisset as well. That was a pass for position on Meal. Biffle scored in 28th right now, 1 lap down, so he's not in the free pass spot if a caution were to come out. And now he's got fresher tires than Labonte when Labonte had fresher tires than him, so he should get by the 44 car a lot quicker this time, as he couldn't even pass him before until it was too late and Stewart already had the lead. Tires definitely make a difference. You just tell by how hard he was struggling to get by the 44 earlier, and now he's already just passed him first corner he caught up to him. Should pull away as well. That was a pass for 27. Scott Wimmer in 26, just up ahead. I mean, it's still a 3-stop race for Biffle as well as everybody else. He just went fuel only during the second stop. And I could have taken tires there and went fuel only on the final stop. but I wanted to make sure I was going to be in the lead first, and then just hang on to the lead as long as I could, and as soon as the cars caught up to me, which as soon as they did, they passed me, we fell back to third immediately. Looks like Kurt Busch going to short pit as well in the 97. He was hovering around the top 5. So Busch pitting with about 30 to go. Tony Stewart continues to lead. Outside of green flag pit stops earlier today, right around lap 40, he has not led up until he took the lead from Biffle. At least we ensured some bonus points on that strategy too, even if we don't win. We're riding behind Scott Wimmer, looking to make the pass off turn 4 down to the bottom. You see Kurt Busch getting up to speed. Biffle could not get by Wimmer. Wimmer holding him up. Needs to get by the 97 to Kurt Busch, though. Biffle going all the way to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to get whatever draft he can off of Busch. It was a clean stop by the Mr. Clean crew. Wimmer held Biffle up for about a lap. That was the difference in Greg Biffle not cycling out in front of Kurt Busch. So pretty quick stop for the 97 team. See Terry Labonte's paint scheme wanted to buy cornflakes. Hey, that's the idea, though. That's the idea of the branding. Just like we have the Subway car today. Got a food branded car also. Biffle slowly catching Kurt. Biffle looking low under Busch off turn 4. Side by side to the line. Kurt going to hold clear at the start-finish line. 37.912. Fastest lap ran today for Greg Biffle. But still couldn't get by Kurt Busch. 97 car just as strong. Final time, we'll alternate through the different camera angles for the first race of our doubleheader today. Again, our second race at Atlanta on this stream coming up as soon as this race comes to an end. I was pretty optimistic about us getting another new winner in this race. But now with Tony Stewart leading, I'm starting to backtrack on that, although I don't know that Stewart's going to cycle to the lead. Green flag pit stops, but he could. It's amazing Jimmy Johnson dominated the first half of this race. And then Kyle Busch caught past him during the green flag run, but somehow it's Tony Stewart who had a fast enough second pit stop that he cycled out ahead. And he might have pitted just before those two as well, which allowed him to cycle out ahead. I'm not sure how much of it was that. Greg Biffle cannot get by Kurt Busch right now. As these two Roush Fenway Fords pretty equal. It's like the 36 car Boris said, slowing a bunch of cars down in the middle of turns 3 and 4. He's up on that outside lane. Biffle to the inside of Busch. Busch checking up on the backstretch as they were closing in on Boris said. Oh, Biffle hard on the brakes into turn 3. And then said pulled out of the way at the last second. If Biffle didn't lift as much as he did, he would have ran all over the back of that 36 car. But when the 36 of said moved out of the way to the outside after Biffle got on the brakes pretty hard into the corner, Kurt ended up behind him instead. of Biffle, and Kurt Busch is now a couple seconds behind Biffle. Maybe a little less than that, but either way, he fell off from where that 16 car was. Yep, Red Wings playing tonight. If I had to guess, we're going to catch Boris said probably 2 more times in this race. Saw some sparks flying. There's a little contact towards the exit of turn 2. Lap cars side by side right in front of Greg Biffle. They would be for position. Biffle quickly to the bottom. Appears to be 3 wide under John Andretti, and then the 141 car up on the outside. Biffle hooking that white line, knowing he was 3 wide going into the corner. Saw some more sparks flying off turn 2 up ahead. Biffle to 20-30, maybe in the free pass position now, depending if there may be any lap cars in this group just up ahead, and I think there is at least one. Kyle Petty and Jimmy Spencer, looks like, in this group, so Biffle not in the free pass spot if we were to get a yellow. Yes, we did short pit. Trying to take a little advantage of slightly fresher tires. Kurt Busch on a similar strategy. He only pitted a few laps after we did. We're down to 20 to go. An unorthodox pit strategy for Biffle. It was a 3-stop race. He went fuel only on the second to cycle to the lead. Stayed out for about 6 or 7 laps. Window was open to make it again, so he ended up pitting, topping off, then taking 4 tires. He was able to cycle to the lead for about those 6-7 laps before giving the lead right back up. But now leading at the California Speedway, potentially, when we cycle through pit stops, is the hope. And at the very least, he's going to hope to at least be right in the thick of things, battling for the win, which he had really no business doing. Problem is, he's going to have older tires than everybody else who is still on the track right now. He's pulling away from Kurt Busch. After he passed him, Busch cycled out ahead of him by just a little bit. Biffle eventually made the pass. Kyle Petty, Jimmy Spencer side by side for 21st. Biffle closing in on him. Petty clears the 50 of Spencer. Biffle down low. Jimmy Spencer tried to block, but Biffle was already there. Spencer on the inside of the 45 of Kyle Petty. Turns 3 and 4. Biffle clips the apron a little bit. He gets loose. Makes contact, I believe, with Kyle Petty. And if he didn't make contact with Kyle Petty after overcorrecting the car there, I think he would have spun out. Big loss of momentum for Greg Biffle. And that's going to eat away at those tires. He's nearly 3 wide on the bottom, but by the time he at least made contact, it was very slight contact with the 45, but it was just enough side force to keep the car from spinning. Usually you make the contact, that's where he would spin, but that wasn't the case. And all that time he put on Kurt Busch is caught right back up to the 16. Halfway on fuel. Tells you how far Biffle's pushed these tires already. He was able to go 40 laps on a run earlier, so with 16 to go, he should be 4 laps to the good on fuel. He stayed out a little extra just to ensure that he was going to make it without having to save, especially because he still had the lead slightly at the time as well. He's going to pass Kyle Petty cleanly through turns 3 and 4 that time. I just saw one of the leaders pit. Couldn't tell exactly who it was off turn 4. Fastest lap for Biffle, 37.882 that last lap. 197 miles an hour on corner entry into turn 1. Closes in on the 50 car of Jimmy Spencer. Spencer may be pitting at any moment. He will not pit off turn 4 this time. Biffle couldn't get around him. He didn't want to try to get underneath him just in case as well. Sadler back out in front, at least for a brief moment. Biffle to the inside of Jimmy Spencer now into turns 1 and 2. All clear. Jimmy Johnson has just cycled out of the pits right in front of Greg Biffle. He was one of the leaders. Kyle Busch underneath Elliott Sadler, potentially into turns 3 and 4. Boris said. Just held Sadler up a little bit. Now Johnson being held up just a hair on the front stretch. Biffle with a run on the 48. Johnson down the block in time into turn 1. Biffle getting tight in the dirty air behind the 48 of Johnson. Carl Edwards in the 99 on the bottom of the track. Biffle barely clear of Edwards going into 3 and 4. So Biffle has almost 20 lap, maybe just over 20 lap older tires than Johnson and Edwards, who just cycled out of the pits. Kyle Busch, Elliott Sadler still on the track, still have not pitted at this point in the run. For the rest of this race, we will go back to the far chase cam. This is the race for the finish. I think Tony Stewart has already cycled ahead of Johnson and Biffle. Still yet to see exactly where Kyle Busch and Elliott Sadler will cycle out, but I think Tony Stewart's going to be in the lead once we get through pit stops. Biffle not really looking to pass Johnson right now. He feels his car is really getting loose, kind of similar to Texas where we get halfway through the run and it almost feels dangerous to try to pass. So not going to worth trying to risk it right now, especially with still 11 to go. Kyle Busch looking to pit this time. I don't think Elliott Sadler will, though. He should stay out. And the leaders are going to catch Boris Said one more time as well. Worth the note. 10 laps left. The California Speedway. Tony Stewart trying to hang on. Johnson, who dominated the first half of the race. But Stewart's pit crew has been absolutely on it from the get-go. And obviously Stewart's had a fast car as well, but his pit crew definitely given that 20 team a shot to win as well. Little contact between Johnson and Biffle, and Johnson up into the wall. Greg Biffle didn't mean to get into him. He really wasn't even trying to pass him. We stay green, no caution luckily. Biffle cycled back in the top 5, but that was not ideal. And that has really chewed away at the tires after that moment there from Greg Biffle, unfortunately. Wasn't even trying to pass. Kyle Busch going to cycle out just in front. Jeremy Mayfield's still on the track, yet to pit. Right rear in the yellow on the tire wear indicator right now. Elliott Sadler just coming off of pit road. Kyle Busch may clear him. Big run for Carl Edwards as he gets underneath Greg Biffle. Biffle hanging on the door of Edwards in the middle of turns 3 and 4. Boy. Got arrow loose in the tri-oval from Kurt Busch. Lifted, barely kept it off both of his teammates. Now he makes contact with Kurt going into one. And Kurt's up into the outside wall. Not going to lose a spot. Mayfield is in the pits now as they'll be coming for 6 to go at the line. Tony Stewart's got a pretty big lead. Or will have a pretty big lead over Elliott Sadler and Kyle Busch. Well, Biffle not going to win on this strategy, unfortunately. Too many big moments late in this race. Luckily, he did not cause a wreck. Last thing he would have needed was to cause a caution and have to go to the tail end of the field. He almost did with Johnson and Kurt Busch there, but holding on to his car, he's very loose. He's not even really willing to try and pass Carl Edwards, at least until the final corner of the final lap. Edwards goes a bit wide off turn 4. Biffle underneath him, but Edwards should have the straightaway speed with a little bit fresher tires. It's going to be hard for Biffle just to get by the 99. Because he knows if he gets in front of him a little too early, he's going to start to get a little arrow loose. Both rear tires in the yellow and the tire wear indicator now. He's actually bump drafting Edwards just a bit down the back straightaway. Hit him square enough. Don't think these two cars are going to be fast enough to catch either Kyle Busch or Sadler for second or third, unless the 5 and the 38 really start to get racing with each other. Probably be about the only way. Biffle really loose off of turn 2. They should still end up catching Boris Said, though, so maybe that could be the difference, and then potentially catching the 5 and the 38. But Tony Stewart's long gone here. Unless we get a late caution with a restart, Tony Stewart's going to win his 3rd race of the season. And we will not get another new winner, at least in this first race of our doubleheader today. Of course, still racing at Atlanta for our 2nd race tonight. We will qualify for that one. Sadler, Busch, catching Boris Said. Off of turn 2 and down the back straightaway right now. Biffle to the inside of Carl Edwards. Feels now is his chance to really go after it, with Said slowing down. And Boris Said really slowed down Carl Edwards. Slowed down Elliott Sadler, too. Kyle Busch didn't really get slowed down. He got to the inside of Sadler, passed him for 2nd. 2 laps to go. Biffle's up to 4th after getting by Edwards. He's long away from the 99, and now he's got a shot at a podium finish if he can get by Sadler. On older tires, it's going to be difficult. We'll see what he can do. Tony Stewart's got about a 3-second lead nearly on Kyle Busch. Not enough of a run for Biffle to feel comfortable pulling out a line there. And you're right, Edwards may lose a points lead. He was only 8 points ahead of Elliott Sadler. Oh, Biffle got a little tight in the middle of the corner trying to pull out a line on Sadler on the final lap. Biffle to the inside of the 38. Sadler door slams Greg Biffle. And Biffle couldn't get by him, and that checked him up just enough. Into turns 3 and 4. Biffle a little too loose in the center of the corner. And he's not going to have a chance. That door check by Sadler rather off of turn 2 allowed him to hang on to 3rd and beat Greg Biffle tonight. Checkered flag, though, in the air, and Tony Stewart has won the Auto Club 250 by 2.9 seconds over rookie Kyle Busch, who ends up with a great run, led some laps middle portion of the race, but Stewart's pit crew did their job, and Tony Stewart did his job keeping the car clean as well to get the win. One caution in this first race of the doubleheader tonight, and it was only on lap 2, so it went over 100 laps green to the finish. 15 lead changes throughout this race, 2.9 seconds. Again, margin of victory, 172.01 miles per hour was the average race speed, and the total race time, an hour 27 minutes. Tony Stewart led 24 laps. Not sure. I think Jimmy Johnson easily led the most. Again, Kyle Busch second. He led 12 laps today. Elliott Sadler ends up finishing at 30. Led 11 laps during green flag pit stops. Greg Biffle led 10 laps, finishing 4th on his alternating strategy. Carl Edwards finishes in 5th. Kurt Busch ends up 6th. Kevin Harvick 7th. Jimmy Johnson 8th place after leading 59 of the 125 laps. Jeff Gordon didn't lead a lap, finished in 9th though. Mike Bliss with another top 10 as he rounds out the top 10 in today's race. Mark Martin 13th, Matt Kenseth 14th were the other Roush Fenway Fords. And we didn't have many DNFs in this first race. Martin Truex Jr., Travis Kvapil, who was having a great day. He was as high as 2nd earlier, but blew an engine at lap 36 just prior to getting to green flag pit stops for the first time, so that is very unfortunate. Looks like Brian Vickers DNF'd late in the race, I guess. Boris said blew an engine, but then came back out. Was able to get by Truex and Kvapil to finish 41st. So he did finish, but he didn't catch Vickers. He didn't have enough laps to. So 3 DNFs total in the first race today. Not bad. Yeah, I'll take a 4th place finish. We kept the car clean there. When it was very loose, there was a couple chances I almost wrecked. Glad a caution didn't come out. And now we have 162 laps in the Golden Corral 250 at Atlanta up next. But before that, we will check the point standings. And I will actually update the point standings on the top of the screen for you guys going into this next race. So Tony Stewart now in 2nd place for the most wins this year, as he has now picked up his 3rd win. And he will try to go for the sweep. Now, Carl Edwards and Elliott Sadler both led laps. I believe Sadler's going to be 2 points ahead of Carl Edwards, and that is the case. So, Elliott Sadler, through the first race of our doubleheader tonight, has now taken the points lead by just 2. Over Carl Edwards. Kurt Busch is now only 66 points out of first. And Biffle only gains 3 points with the swap of the points lead going on. Sadler beat Biffle, but Biffle beat Edwards. All 3 of them got 5 bonus points, and really Kurt Busch did too. So all 4 drivers got 5 bonus points today. 70 points now separating the top 4 with 11 races to go. And as soon as I get done getting the updated point standings for you guys, we will qualify at Atlanta. So don't go anywhere. We're going to have a lot of fun here yet for the rest of the stream and our final stream prior to Thanksgiving tomorrow night. That win moved Tony Stewart up to 8th in the standings. He's still 243 back. But if he's going to have any sort of shot, he had a good night. That's what he needed to do. Dale Jarrett's falling outside the top 10 in points now. Yeah, I'll take a 4th place finish though. Honestly, I'm not too good, not that great at California, so on this game, I'll take that. Mark Martin's still 15th in points. Kind of stinks Dale Jarrett's really fallen off. He was leading in points at one point very early in the season. He was in the top 5 for really the first half of the year. We turned the page to the second half of the season. He's really fallen off. Back-to-back wins also for Joe Gibbs Racing. Labonte 2 nights ago at Texas, and tonight, Tony Stewart. We'll see if they can make it 3. Watch Jason Leffler pull something out of nothing. Win a fuel mileage race at Atlanta. I don't know what the fuel mileage is going to be here. With the 50% race, it'll be interesting. Accelerated pit window as well.
The city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia are heating up as the stars of the NASCAR Cup Series come charging back to the south with the season winding down and the battle for the championship on full boil. The Atlanta Motor Speedway always sizzles with excitement, but now the burner is turned on high. The chase for the championship is red hot, and EA Sports is proud to welcome you to the Golden Corral 500.
All right, so off to qualifying we go for the second time today. And it'll be our final time driving this Subway paint scheme on the season. Red, white, and blue one at least for Greg Biffle. Fastest 1.5 miles on the circuit tonight for half the distance of a normal Atlanta race in this time period of NASCAR. And even today they still have a 500-mile race as well. No practice, hopping right into qualifying as you saw. Car's a little edgy, I'm not going to lie. That's fine for qualifying. We're going to have to adjust this when we get into the race, though, because we're not going to make it. It might be loose and edgy enough to get the pole, though. That would be ideal. We saw Johnson lead the most laps from the pole in the first race. Even though he didn't win, he still finished 8th. First lap, pretty good for Biffle. 5th quickest, 29.531. If he clips the apron, so be it at this point. He is going for it. He's already locked into the top 5. Better than what he started at California, which was 12th. Hugging that white line all the way through 3 and 4. Car wiggling around to the start-finish line. Ah, so close. 29.499. 3rd quickest for Greg Biffle on lap 2. Just shy of the pole. Aggressive setup to try to go for it, but couldn't quite get it. Jeff Gordon will be on the pole, so Hendrick Motorsports sweep of the pole awards tonight. And we're definitely going to have to add some more downforce. And a little bit more wedge. I don't know how much is too much. We'll go round and a half for now. And we'll make some adjustments going forward in this race if we have to. So Jeff Gordon going to lead the field to the green. We are underway. And our second race of our doubleheader tonight is upon us. Greg Biffle did not take off well on the start there. DEI cars both got around him, with Martin Truex Jr., Dale Jr., and even points leader Elliott Sadler going to get around Greg Biffle. Marlin to the outside, qualified in 5th, right behind Biffle. Biffle stays in front of both Stewart and Marlin off turn 4. Edwards, who started 2nd, back to 4th after lap 1. Jeff Gordon will lead the opening lap with Dale Jr., who started 4th, up to 2nd. Truex to 3rd after starting 6th. Caution already, a wreck in turns 1 and 2. That didn't take long. Big crash in turns 1 and 2. Oh, Mark Martin. He had to have gotten some help, because he was already turning up the track. Might have been some contact. Jamie McMurray got cleaned out. 120 car also involved. Big hit for Mark Martin. Not a good start for Roush Fenway Racing in this one. So our only caution was on lap 2 in the first race. In this race, we have a caution on lap 2 as well. That'd be weird if we go caution, one caution both races and they were both on lap 2. But an early wreck. These mile-and-a-half racetracks have been wild this season. Green flag back in the air. Biffle not good on the restart, so he's going to block for his life here on Tony Stewart into turns 1 and 2. Single file restart might be a little easier to defend. Stewart to the outside. And he's going to clear Biffle. Biffle having to protect the bottom on the backstretch on Jimmy Johnson. Just defending his position right now. And Jeff Gordon holds on for another restart. Travis Quaffle trying to redeem himself, qualifying towards the top 10, inside the top 10 of the early going now after blowing an engine running second at Auto Club earlier. Can Tony Stewart get the sweep tonight and really push forward into trying to contend for the championship late in the season? We're down to the final third of the year coming into tonight's action. We'll be down to the final 10 races when the checkered flag flies at Atlanta in the next hour to hour and a half. 29.389 that last lap for Greg Biffle, pretty quick. This car's definitely got more grip than what it had in qualifying, thank goodness. Especially now that we're in traffic. That was in clean air and it was that bad. Couldn't imagine what it was going to be like. Car tucked in line on that rear spoiler behind us. Sadler got the wall off turn 2 and then again off of turn 4. Tony Stewart, Greg Biffle closing in on him. Truex was able to make the pass as well on the front stretch. Stewart underneath Sadler. Biffle going to follow the 20 to get by the 38 for 6th. Alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in our second race of our doubleheader today. Oh, Biffle clips the apron going into the corner. Got really loose. Held on to it, though. Did a great job catching the race car. Sadler to his outside into turn 3. I thought I was going to go around there for a second. I'm surprised I caught it. That is not the right way to try to take care of your tires, though. Jimmy Johnson gets by Sadler after Sadler's failed attempt of trying to go to the outside to make a pass for position on Biffle for 6th. Truex about got the wall off turn 2, and Stewart's got a run on him now into 3 and 4. Jeff Gordon doing what Jimmy Johnson did in the early going of the last race, pull out ahead quickly. Biffle again touches the apron. That time he overcorrected and ended up in the wall. And Jimmy Johnson's going to likely make the pass through 3 and 4. Both times he's clipped the apron was in 1 and 2. Johnson clear. Biffle moves down right in front of Elliott Sadler. Caution again off turn 4. Our second caution already in this race. Just as Biffle was trying to get back to the inside of Johnson into turn 1. And it's going to be debris off Jamie McMurray's race car. Not sure if it was his hood or something else that may have came off. If his hood didn't come off there, it will soon. That will be caution number 3. Or sorry, caution number 2 in the early going. And Greg Biffle gonna have to play defense on another restart here. He has not been good getting up to speed, both at Auto Club / California and in the second race at Atlanta as well. Locking Elliott Sadler into turns 1 and 2. Johnson with a great restart. Gets underneath the 1 of Truex. Clears him off turn 2 easily. Oh, Quaffle down towards the bottom. Biffle wasn't really loose that time. He was just trying to make sure he wasn't going to make contact with Travis Quaffle. Biffle trying to hold the outside. Oh, man. 3 wide. Biffle in the middle. Hold your line. They made it. We made it. Oh, gosh. I had a heart attack there for a second. That was nearly lethal. Sadler's going backwards after just taking the points lead with a third-place finish at California. Kurt Busch going 3 wide to the bottom, making a pass on both Sadler and Marlin. That was a great move by Travis Quaffle to get by the 38 and the 16 as well. Jeff Gordon's led the first 20 laps, assuming he leads at the start-finish line this time by as well. Truex about got in the wall again off turn 2. Caution, or third, off of turn 2, maybe more debris. Cautions breeding cautions in the early going of tonight's Golden Corral 250 at Atlanta. The hood has fallen off the 120 car towards the tail end of the field. There were a handful of cars that were involved in that first caution. Well, we're 20 laps in with an accelerated pit window. We'll see if the leaders pit here. If they do, Biffle's coming in as well. Biffle gonna pit. Yep, I saw that at the last second there. Leaders are in. Greg Biffle will be in. It'll be 4 tires and fuel. No adjustments for the 16. First stop at lap number 20. Well, at least a caution at lap 20. And the Mr. Clean crew gonna go to work for the second time tonight. Not bad. I think Biffle gained a spot on, actually 3 spots on pit road. He went in 8th, and now he'll be 5th. Marlin gains a couple. He's up to 6th. Truex in 4th. So, Jeff Gordon going to lose the lead. Also, green flag back in the air. Dale Jr. will lead for the first time tonight in either race. He didn't lead any laps at California. Biffle blocking Sterling Marlin into turn 1. Tony Stewart to the outside. Biffle just trying to protect the bottom so he doesn't get put 3 wide middle again. He did not lose a spot on this restart. First time that has happened so far. Gordon loses another spot to Truex, who's up to 3rd. Marlin still stuck on the top, now 3 wide. Boris Said into the middle and now in the top 10. A lot of battling going on back there. Jeff Gordon's pit crew cost him the lead. Gordon led the first 20 laps up until that 3rd yellow. Held on for every restart. Pit crew lost him 2 spots on pit road, and then Truex got around him quickly the first lap after the restart. So Gordon sits in 4th. First time we've seen that 24 car in traffic today. We'll see if he'll be the same in the handling department. Carl Edwards challenging for the lead as well on Dale Jr. Edwards has not won since the 5th race of the year at Pocono. 20 straight races without a win, although it's his rookie season. We'll give him a pass. And he's still 2nd in points in his rookie season with the 1 win, so I think he can get a pass. He's having a spectacular campaign. I wouldn't be surprised if he clinches the Rookie of the Year with like 5 or 6 races to go at this point. Still challenging for the lead. He couldn't really keep up with Gordon. Now with Junior in the lead, he's definitely keeping up with him. Junior did a great job going from third to first on pit road as well. Not only beat the 24, but also beat the 99. Gordon to third, getting by Truex. Edwards going a bit wide in turns 1 and 2. Gordon trying to pick him back off again. Wants to get back to the lead and try to pull away. So we saw some pit strategy in the first race. Early pit stops in this race is still nowhere near, or I should say no clue as to how far these guys could go on a full tank of fuel yet. Didn't even get halfway through the run. To get out the accelerated pit window, it's a little different. I would say anywhere between 60 to 70 laps would be about normal for a mile and a half on this game in the Cup Series. It's a little different in these shorter races. Go back to alternating through the camera angles again. We were in the middle of it, and then we started to get a slew of cautions. It's been difficult to pass the leader, though. Nobody's gotten around both Gordon and now Earnhardt under green flag conditions. Another big testament to that 8 team. The DEI came to play today, considering Martin Truex Jr. is in 4th after qualifying inside the top 10 and quickly got up as high as 3rd. Gordon going for 2nd underneath Carl Edwards, side by side, back straightaway. Into turn 3, Gordon should have the spot. Truex going to try to follow. And if Biffle could stay close behind the 1, he may have a shot to get underneath the 99 on the front stretch heading towards turn 1 as well. That's what he's hoping for, at least. And that will be the case. Truex slides up maybe a little too early, though, in the middle of 1 and 2, and now Biffle to the inside of the 1. Yeah, it's cleared Carl Edwards. Edwards down to the bottom behind the 16. Oh, great block by Truex as he completely cut off that run that the 99 had on the backstretch. 29.299 that last lap, quicker than any lap in qualifying for Biffle. And his fastest of the race. And he's right back to where he started, which is 3rd place. Gordon, who may have the fastest car in the field, trying to go back for the lead again. .29.297, another quick lap for Biffle. Biffle looking extremely low off turn 2 on Jeff Gordon. Gordon trying to get to the inside of the 8. He's there now into turns 3 and 4, side by side. Biffle with a run off turn 4 to the inside of Earnhardt. Gordon back to the lead at Atlanta. First pass for the lead under green flag conditions took 37 laps, but Jeff Gordon back out in front. Biffle to 2nd now as he followed Gordon to get by the 8 of Dale Jr. Ethan Trendler, thanks for tuning in. Biffle down low underneath Gordon. Side by side for the lead on the front stretch. Into turns 1 and 2. Gordon tried to block Biffle. Biffle still stays underneath the 24. Still side by side on the backstretch into turn 3. Greg Biffle is going to slide clear. And for the first time tonight, Greg Biffle going to lead at Atlanta. He is out in front of Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. Flip the apron. Oh my gosh. Junior squeaks by to the outside. Biffle had a handful of the race car that time. I don't know how Junior got up to the outside though and passed him. Bottom lane was open. He went to the outside. He went the difficult way around. I thought he was still dealing with Jeff Gordon back there, but I guess it was Earnhardt who was able to squeeze into the lead. Biffle getting that momentum back though. To the inside of Earnhardt into 3 and 4. Biffle leads that lap at the line. Not sure if he was clear of Earnhardt or not. Dale Jr. falls back. Carl Edwards up to second. Go back to the far chase cam now. We'll take our first field pass of the race today when we get back to the start-finish line this next time by as well. One, two at the front of the field for Roush Fenway Racing as Greg Biffle leads at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Trying to go for his 11th win of this custom scheduled Cup Series season. 11 races to go on the season coming into tonight's race. We'll go to the 97 of Kurt Busch next. He is all the way back in 22nd. He was pretty high up in the running order at the start of the race. Must have had a slow pit stop under caution. Whatever the case, he is in P22. Trying to play some catch-up. I'm clipping the apron with Kurt Busch. First time I did that in 3 and 4, though. Newman gets by for position. Comes the 25 car, Brian Vickers as well. Kurt Busch 66 points out of first into today's race as he sits third in the standings. Just 4 points ahead of race leader Greg Biffle. Cockpit cam looks better than E5. I feel like it gyrates with the bumps pretty normal. Makes it feel like it's more first person than anything else. Like Heat 5's cockpit cam's pretty good too, but it's almost like too smooth. You'd almost say the same for ignition also. I think Heat 5's better with that though, because kind of sounds like there's like a high-pitched like noise whenever you're in the cockpit cam on NASCAR Ignition. Even with the update, but the next-gen car is still there. Sounds like a power saw cutting wood. So, just high-pitched though. It's so noticeable that it almost seems like it tunes out the engine a little bit. Go one more lap with Busch. And we'll have to pick who we'll swap to next. Go to the inside of Ryan Newman. Clears him for position off turn 4. We'll go to Matt Kenseth in the 17 car. Not sure what position he's in. He's in 11, just outside the top 10. It's like Kevin Harvick is in that 10th place position right now. Kenseth's car feels really loose. His was more loose than everybody else's at Auto Club, too. Ended up finishing, what, 13th? This honestly almost feels like my car in qualifying. Kenseth's car. Lap 50 of 162. In this short 250-mile lap, 50-mile lap, 250-mile race. Got two 250-mile races tonight, making up 500 miles of Cup racing action, but 2 races rather than 1. Again, these are our final 50% races of our Cup Series custom schedule season. 2 more laps with Kenseth. We'll transfer to... go to Mark Martin next. It's like Harvick almost scraped the wall off turn 2 just up ahead. Got up in the marbles. If we're running 29.2s, Kenseth in the 29.4s, so he's definitely off the pace from his teammate. I think his car's just a little too loose. I'd have to imagine with the damage to the 6 car, Martin's probably pretty far back in the field. 17th, actually. A couple spots ahead of Kurt Busch, even despite hitting hard head-on into the wall in turn 1, crashed in the 2nd lap. I gotta say, of the Pfizer paint schemes, this one's probably my favorite. The powder blue with the white rather than the dark blue with the black. Kind of want to get this die cast, honestly. Gets by Jason Leffler for 16th. Tried to make a pass on Michael Waltrip, but Waltrip blocks all the way down the front stretch and into 1 and 2. Halfway on fuel at this point, the run for Martin at lap 54. Kenseth hit there about a lap and a half ago. So despite crashing, Mark Martin's still having a decent day. Waltrip making contact, squeezes Mark Martin. In the middle of turns 3 and 4 that time. Stalling the 6 car speed and momentum off on the front stretch. So we went green at lap 24. These guys might be able to go about 60 laps on a full tank of fuel still, though. Pretty close to a full run at Atlanta. So these guys may be able to make it on just one more stop. It could be just a 2-stop race today. We'll see. Swap to Carl Edwards this time by. Martin to the inside of Waltrip off turn 2. Waltrip crowds him again. Into turn 3. Martin trying not to make contact, but the 15 did not give Mark a lot of room. Mark got really loose, clip in the apron. He makes a wild save as well. And to Edwards we go. Martin almost crashed a second time. Michael Waltrip was not giving any room for Mark Martin to make that corner. You see the tire smoke left behind for Martin as well. Luckily there was no contact, otherwise that probably would have been the difference in Mark not being able to save it, and maybe even potentially Michael Waltrip crashing. 3-car breakaway at the front of the field with Biffle leading, Edwards in second, Tony Stewart in third. Edwards has not led today. I'm not going to take the lead away from Biffle, though. I'm just going to sit behind the 16 for right now. Continue to let Biffle lead until we swap to Biffle. Oh, I didn't even realize there was a patch update. NASCAR 21. I mean, it'll notify me when I go to log into the application. We will get back into NASCAR 22 content on the channel in a couple weeks. Honestly, Edwards still pushing fairly hard. He's not really even able to get underneath Greg Biffle in any way. We'll swap to Greg Biffle at the start-finish line next time by. It's a little more in the center of the corner that time. And lifts early into turn 3 as well, keeping the 16 out in front. Fix the AI a little bit, but not the scoring. Just a quarter tank of gas left for Greg Biffle at lap 63 during the run right now. So he's not pacing quite as well on fuel, which is interesting. Continues to lead. Maybe not for long, though, because Carl Edwards is going to get underneath him. Off of turn 4. Biffle would like to get the most laps led today. Biffle, I believe, led that lap at the line, but Edwards going to clear him into turn 1. Biffle was side drafting the 99 all the way down the front stretch. It was a great pass by Carl Edwards. Biffle does not want his teammate to get 5 bonus points, knowing he's battling him potentially for the championship. Big block by Carl Edwards. Biffle had to let him go, and they keep from wrecking each other. That loss of momentum for Biffle's going to give up second place now to Tony Stewart. How did they not crash in the middle of the corner that time? Biffle clipped the apron after the contact, but he was out of the gas in plenty of time and held the wheel as straight as he could. Aggressive move by the rookie to try to get that first lap led of the race, and he got it. Tells you how important these bonus points are. And now that we're a little less than 100 to go in the race, we know that we're getting down to the wire in this one as well. What had Atlanta by 9 laps? Yeah, it sounds like a scoring error to me. We won there by a couple laps. I just have to beat a few laps down because of scoring errors too. We got on top of the scoring errors eventually. All worked itself out. And then some. Stewart a bit off the bottom. Biffle trying to get underneath Stewart. Was there, but then he got a little loose. Couldn't stay there. 1/8 of a tank of fuel left for Biffle this point in the run. And we actually have cars on pit road as we speak. Green flag pit stops going on. Kurt Busch, Mark Martin are in. Greg Biffle still on the track. 2 more stops to the end yet. Stewart staying out this time. Not sure about Carl Edwards. Edwards does not pit off turn 4 either. Biffle underneath Stewart. Side drafts him on the front stretch. Tight battle between the top 3. Stewart underneath Edwards for the lead. Tony Stewart got to get 5 bonus points, leading his first lap of the day. Biffle back into second. Stewart goes a bit wide in the middle of the corner. Now Biffle's underneath Tony Stewart for the lead. Stewart with a big block. That's because he wanted to pit that time. Biffle continues to stay out of the pits. Lap 71. And Biffle back out in front again. Wants to lead as many laps as he can. Got a little arrow loose with Carl Edwards behind him, though, and Edwards is going to get back to the lead off of turn 2. And now Edwards will pit. Biffle will lead this next lap. We're going to have a little strategy call when Greg Biffle pits. We did it in the last race. It helped Biffle go from pretty much a 12th place car to end up finishing in 4th. We're not going to go fuel only this time, though, but it'll be right side tires only for Greg Biffle when he makes his stop. He's going to pit this time by, so he's staying out another lap. It'll be right sides only for Greg Biffle when he pits. Going to really push those left sides and then make a 4-tire stop before the end of the race. Strategy worked once for a top 5 finish when it wasn't looking like he was even going to get a top 10. Will it work, for a potential race win this time? Right sides only for Greg Biffle. And a full tank of gas. Probably could have gotten away with a half tank, but we'll go full just in case. It should keep Biffle in the lead. Means he was, technically in second when they started the pit stops. Yep, Truck and Busch Series season continues. You actually see a truck race either next week or the week after. Biffle may have his hands full, so he's going to have to be aware of that. Getting up to speed on the bottom of the track, heading into turns 3 and 4. So right sides only for Greg Biffle. He's going to have about a 3.1 second lead. Lap 75 at the start-finish line. Biffle really pushing it on these tires. Specifically the left sides. That might loosen the car up just a little bit as well. Keeping the left sides on it. Both the right sides were in the yellow, but the lefts were fine. Well, not fine necessarily, but they were still green on our tire wear indicator in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. It'll definitely be a 4-tire stop once Biffle ends up pitting. Jacob NASCAR, thanks for tuning in. Hate the scheduling gaps. Well, good thing we don't have playoffs in the Truck Series. Sorry I'm giving you guys a big schedule gap. Just because that season's so much shorter, though, too, than the Cup and the Busch Series. Like, they had that in the Truck Series before the playoffs were a thing. So it wasn't really talked about a whole lot like it is now, but I would say the gap is probably a bit bigger now. Because it seems like they're more condensed at the start of the year than what they usually are. In real life, yeah, I know. I know you're talking about real life. I was just correlating that with ours. If we're running some good laps, though. Just looking to maintain. It'd make more sense, though, if they did it during the regular season, obviously. Especially towards the beginning of the year, because there's only 16 races in the regular season for the Truck Series. So if they were going to have schedule gaps, I feel like you'd have to have them in those first 10 races. Because once you get down to crunch time, even late in the regular season, I don't think you would really want anymore. There's really no such thing as momentum when you have that many weeks off in between races. So it's hard to say that momentum's, you know, huge, I guess. I mean, look at Ty Majeski in the Truck Series this year. Sure, he won 2 out of 3 races in the round of 8, but then he also had an off week between his win at Homestead and then the final race of the season. It gave those other teams an extra week to prepare for the championship. When he was the first team to try to get prepped and ready for the championship for, because he was the first one to lock himself in because he won the first race of the round at Vegas. Both left side tires in the yellow and the tire wear indicator. Lead is down to about 1.7 seconds off of turn 2. We'll take our second and final field pass of the race at the start-finish line this time by. We'll have exactly 80 laps to go this time by as well. We'll see if Biffle can run a little bit better lap times by himself. We'll go to Matt Kenseth in the 17. He has cycled up to 10th after green flag pit stops, not too far behind Kevin Harvick and Elliott Sadler. About 6 seconds off the lead from the Biff. Dale Jr. back to 7th after leading laps. Fast pit stop under caution earlier. Kenseth to the inside of Kevin Harvick. Harvick, good exit to turn 4 though. Enough straightaway speed to stay in front of Kenseth on the front stretch and into 1. So they're trying to protect for all the positions he can right now. Coming off a 3rd place finish at California in the first race tonight. Sitting in 8th right now, but 9th and 10th breathing down his neck. We're just into the second half of the race. Tonight's question for you guys will not necessarily be a trivia question for race 2 of our doubleheader. We're just past halfway, so I'll ask you guys now. It's Kevin Harvick and Kenseth looking to overtake Sadler. Harvick still blocking the 17 on the bottom. Sadler's back to 10th. But today's question is going to be kind of a, you know, it's a Thanksgiving-based question. Not a NASCAR-related question, and it's all opinionated. What's your guys' favorite food and or foods to eat on Thanksgiving? What do you guys look forward to on the table to eating during Thanksgiving? Mine, if we're going non-dessert, honestly, the green bean casserole that my mom or sister makes every year, pretty good. They pretty much have the same recipe. They both made it. The green bean casserole's pretty good. But, dessert-wise, though, I gotta go pumpkin cheesecake for myself. I've talked about it on the channel before. I'll be eating that for breakfast as soon as I get up tomorrow. I'm not waiting until 4 o'clock tomorrow when we eat our dinner. Mac and cheese and candy yams. Yeah, there could definitely be some good mac and cheese. It's not much of a trivia question, but it's a question. Stuffing. I'm not a big fan of stuffing myself, honestly. Never really cared for it. We'll go back to Kurt Busch in the 97 car. Battling for his life off of turn 4 for 18th. Mike Bliss right behind him. Finished 10th. First race tonight. 19th, though, in race 2 as of right now in the late going. Sweet potato casserole, that sounds good, too. Yeah, I've never been a big fan of stuffing. I don't know why. Like, I've tried to eat it. Like, we had a Thanksgiving-style meal for work on Saturday. Brought some stuff in. I tried the stuffing, and I had, like, half of it, and I'm like, man, I can't eat this anymore. That was the first thing I ate, too, because I figured if I tried to eat it, like, after I ate everything else, that I wasn't gonna be able to eat it. I still wasn't able to eat it. I don't know. And I eat a lot of bread, too, so it's kind of weird for me not to like stuffing. I don't know what it is about it that I don't know, I just don't like it. I try to eat it, I just don't enjoy it thoroughly as I do the other stuff. A lot of people saying pumpkin pie. Why? I wish pumpkin pie wasn't just this time of the year. Maybe that's what makes it so good, though, too. Because you typically only eat it once a year. Swap to Mark Martin in the 6th car next. Greg Biffle still holding on to the lead at the front of the field. Martin in 16th. 2 spots ahead of Kurt Busch. He's right behind Ricky Rudd in the 21. And right in front of the 12 of Ryan Newman. And Martin trashed all the way back at lap 2. It was the only accident we saw in this race today. 3 yellows, though, in this race. We had 2 for debris. And all 3 cautions in the first 20 laps. We had 1 caution in the first race, California Speedway, and it was on lap 2. And the wreck in today's race at Atlanta was also on lap 2. The debris yellows came out in those ensuing restarts as well. Dressing is a must. I think most people probably have dressing. Thanksgiving? I don't think it's always Southern. Drove it in deep into 3. Inside of Ricky Rudd. Not going to complete the pass. Yeah, a lot of people, I've been coming to find out in recent years, a lot of people don't really care for turkey. I actually like turkey. Like, I legitimately like it. I mean, I do understand if it's out for too, like, if you go back for seconds, don't get turkey the second time, because by that time it's kind of dry after sitting out. But when you get it when it's, like, fresh, though, especially if you're somebody that usually has, like, Thanksgiving meals, like, in person rather than, like, say, going out to eat for it. And even then, it's still fresh. I mean, they usually, like, slice it in front of you most of the time. Depending on where you go, I guess. I like it. I don't know, I like turkey. I just grew up on, like, turkey sandwiches, too, deli meat-wise. I mean, it's a little different, I guess, but... I mean, it's still turkey at the end of the day. And now to Carl Edwards for a few laps. After that, we'll drive as Greg Biffle. Biffle holding on to the lead still. Remember, he took right sides only on that last stop. Edwards trying to get underneath the 20 of Tony Stewart. Not able to do it that time. Biffle holding on to the lead in lap traffic. Stewart going a bit wide off the bottom through 1 and 2. Edwards underneath him for second place. No intentions of trying to pass race leader Greg Biffle, but he is looking to get by Stewart. And Edwards has cleared him. Looks like Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson starting to close in as well. So the top 5 all pretty close together. One more lap with Edwards and we'll run as Biffle the rest of the race. Oh, you guys had a Thanksgiving-like meal too? Yeah, we had turkey, ham. We didn't have potatoes with it, but we had green bean casserole, stuffing, some squash. Squash. Biffle crowding Carl Edwards. There's a little contact. Biffle felt he kind of owed Edwards one because Edwards had made contact with him earlier when he was trying to get to the lead. Kind of in the similar spot, too, on the backstretch heading towards turn 3, but Edwards will battle underneath the 16 anyway. Those older left side tires for Greg Biffle starting to fade. That 3.2 second lead he had when he initially came out of the pits is obviously gone, as he's now back to second. A couple lap cars, though, Edwards is closing in on him. Scott Wimmer and Jimmy Spencer might make for an opportunity for Biffle to get back to the lead. Edwards a little tight behind the 22 car. Biffle having to block Stewart off turn 4 on the front stretch. Edwards clears Wimmer into turn 1, so does Biffle. Stewart alongside Wimmer. I think that's an old people thing. What? I'm sorry for anybody that's older watching me, but I feel like anybody that is like over the age of 60 calls squash squash. Or it's the same people, those are the same people that call wash warsh. Like, why? Like, there's no R. There's no R in it. There's no R in words that have SH sounds. Or in those words specifically. There might be some other words out there that are like it. I don't understand. I don't know. I'm saying it's an old person thing because my grandparents say it all the time. On both sides of the family. So it's like nobody else I know says it. Unless they're that old. It's not a rant. I just find it hilarious though. I make fun of them every time they say it like that. They still continue to say it after the fact. It's in their diction. They don't know any better. I don't know what happened to Tony Stewart. I think he's back to 4th. He might have got picked behind the lap cars because Jimmy Johnson's up to 3rd. Johnson, who led the most laps in California, doing pretty well for himself in this race. Down to 58 laps to go at the line. Biffle battling Edwards. Doesn't really have the grip to try to pass him, though, on those older left side tires. So I say squash, by the way, to answer the question. I find it funny, though. There's no R. Biffle's got a good enough car still to keep up with Edwards, but he definitely can't get underneath him trying to pass him for the lead at all. Unless he catches a lap car in a bad enough spot that Biffle will have a chance to get back by him. But until then, Biffle's going to have to rely on his Mr. Clean pit crew to make a clean final stop. They're 2 for 2 today so far. In the second race, they were perfect in that first race as well. I don't think this pit strategy really did anything for Biffle. Got him some more laps led, I guess, that he probably wouldn't have gotten with a 4-tire stop. Especially staying out of the pits as long as he did. But he stayed out as long as he did, knowing he was only going to take 2. Edwards goes a bit wide. Biffle trying to use the lap cars to his advantage. Got a little loose off the exit of the corner. Contact with Carl Edwards, and Biffle's in the lead into 3. Edwards with the crossover. And the undercut move back to the bottom. Now he uses John Andretti as a pick. Biffle sliding around everywhere right now. Lap cars all over his rear bumper, taking the air off the rear spoiler of his car, but he's hanging in there. Looking really low into turns 3 and 4. Edwards with a bad block. Biffle to the lead. This guy's getting a little too aggressive at the very front of the field all of a sudden, and here comes Jimmy Johnson. Twice Edwards has made contact with Biffle, but Biffle's also gotten into Edwards twice as well. Might be struck 3 for both of them next time they make contact. Biffle holding on for dear life still. Those old left side tires. Jimmy Johnson get a battle to the inside of Greg Biffle. Biffle trying to hold the outside, barely kept it off the wall. Up in the marbles off turn 2. He's doing so well for himself, though. We've got some cars pitting off turn 4 as well. Johnson's clearing up to second. Mark Martin's on his way in. Jimmy Johnson trying to steal the win at Atlanta. He hasn't led a lap yet. Trying to get that first win of the season after not being able to do so at California at his home track earlier. Biffle with a big slide into turn 1. Edwards Johnson staying out again. Biffle stays out again as well. About 0.8 of a second behind Edwards and Johnson right now. Down to 48 laps to go this time by. Biffle loose off turn 2. Got a car blowing up down on the bottom of the track that almost got nailed by Michael Waltrip coming out of the pits. We continue to stay green. Couldn't tell who that was that did blow the engine. Biffle get a pit this time off turn 4. He's going to try to short pit. And he's almost sped. I thought he was going to speed. He did not speed entering the pits. It'll be 4 tires of fuel. No adjustments for Greg Biffle as he fell almost a second off the lead by the time he pitted. That was a perfect pit road entry. It was so perfect that he almost sped, but he did not speed. He just got it down to 70 at the last split second. We actually got a snow tree a couple years ago that I actually really like. End up putting that up again. I think Kurt Busch was the car or the driver that blew an engine. Actually, there's somebody who blew an engine coming out of the pits again anyway. And it's Brian Vickers. And Vickers actually has a lot of damage to the back of his race car right now. Somebody may have hit him, but we continue to stay green for the time being. Hopefully we don't get a caution because Greg Biffle's a lap down after short pitting. Wanted to take those fresh tires, especially with the extremely old left side tires. Now he's got the grip again. And only has to go 48 laps on these tires to the end of the race. Not having to go a full run. There's Jimmy Johnson cycling out of the pits. Edwards still on the track. This may allow Jimmy Johnson to end up taking the lead eventually. Edwards staying out, though, in case we get a caution. And Johnson would be in the free pass position, too, if we did get a yellow. Biffle would end up being in third, but not in the free pass spot. So when will Carl Edwards pit? And will it be Edwards or Johnson in the lead Biffle trying to play a little bit of catch-up. I mean, we usually put our Christmas tree up this coming weekend. Weekend after Thanksgiving. Carl Edwards is in the pits as we speak. Our last restart. By the way, Biffle just ran his fastest lap, a 29.190 for Biffle that last lap. So he is running quick times trying to catch Jimmy Johnson. He just doesn't seem to be quick enough to catch him on his own. I don't know where really the 48 came from. He hasn't led a lap all day. But if he cycles to the lead, he'll end up leading for the first time. He's on the apron right now. Working his way off of turn 2. Jimmy Johnson closing. Not going to get there. Carl Edwards will be in the lead still following green flag pit stops. He's 1.7 to 1.8 seconds behind Edwards. He lost about a second. And it couldn't have been the pit road entry. I almost wonder if it's a pit road exit just because of how slow Biffle's been trying to get up to speed various times tonight. At both California and Atlanta. Definitely could have been the difference maker. He's definitely lost Johnson since exiting pit road. Final time will alternate through the camera angles tonight. Let's put up or shut up now. Everybody's got equal tires. Who can run the better laps to the end? 3-horse race between Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson, and Greg Biffle if this stays green to the finish. Edwards dealing with a lap car right now. Another car blowing an engine as well. Mike Bliss is blowing a motor. That's 2 drivers. I guess Kurt Busch is actually still in. It's like Johnson getting held up behind the lap car in the backstretch into turn 3. He's going to lose time to Carl Edwards. Shane Meal in the 08. Biffle going to have to catch him next. It seemed like Meal didn't really hold Edwards up a whole lot, but he definitely held up Jimmy Johnson. That could be the difference maker. I don't think Biffle's got as fast of a car as, say, Jimmy Johnson. I think Johnson's got the quickest car of these 3. It's pretty equal on speed with Edwards, so it's going to be tough to make up this time to catch him. He's going to have to depend on the lap traffic and have to really get through the lap cars faster than the lead lap cars. Yeah, it could be a Johnson-Edwards Atlanta photo finish. Who knows? Just like in real life in 2005. where Edwards got his first career win. Only it'd be a second career win because he already won at Pocono earlier this season. For 1 second off the lead, he's closing. Edwards and Johnson kind of moved up to the middle lane in turns 3 and 4. Greg Biffle to the inside of Shane Meal off of turn 4. Not able to clear. Oh, there's contact on the front stretch between Meal and Biffle. That costed Biffle a little bit of time. Not sure as to exactly how there was contact, but there was. It seemed like Biffle held his line and Meal just kind of crowded him a little too much. Biffle drives on. Down to 35 laps to go. Edwards and Johnson in that upper lane still. Johnson going to move down in the middle of the corner, though, as Biffle's closing in. He was trying a different line to catch up to the 99. Moves down to try to protect now. I think we're setting up for a classic Atlanta finish the way this one's looking. Tires will wear as the run carries on. These guys are going to be slipping and sliding. It's going to be a great battle. On the front stretch, looking low. Greg Biffle underneath Jimmy Johnson. Johnson trying to block, holds on. He's got a big run on Edwards into turn one. No wonder he wanted to block Greg Biffle. He's going for the lead. Not clear yet. Side by side. Back straightaway. Biffle drives it in deep into 3 and 4. He gets to the inside of Edwards after Jimmy Johnson has just taken his first lead of the race. Lap 130 of 162. Johnson's out in front in Atlanta. Biffle back to second as they have both rained down Carl Edwards. Edwards back to P3. Can he keep up with these two? Or will it be just the Johnson-Biffle show? Biffle underneath Jimmy Johnson for the lead off turn 4. Contact off turn 4 as well. Johnson gonna lose the lead to Greg Biffle. Edwards with a run will get to second. And the 16's out in front with 32 to go. It's gonna be a fight for the finish now. I don't think Johnson appreciated that. Biffle crowded him quite a bit. Johnson did a great job keeping it off the wall, but now he's got to battle back for second and battle his way back into the lead after finally taking the lead for the first time in this race. And after he dominated earlier, now he's trying to steal one in race 2 and make up for the lost cause of that 8th place finish, which wasn't a bad finish by any means, but considering he led over, well, almost half the race, but led the most laps in that last race by quite a wide margin. Had to be frustrating for Johnson not to get the win. Been there before. A couple times this season, in fact. Edwards now to the bottom as he slips underneath Greg Biffle. Side by side for the lead off of turn 4. Edwards clear at the start-finish line. Biffle to block Johnson. Johnson crosses to the outside. Biffle just going to protect the bottom, though, into 1 and 2. These three cars are so equal with one another, and they are constantly passing each other back and forth. Go back to the far chase cam for the rest of the race. 29.158 that last lap for Biffle, his fastest lap of the race. That's how fast these guys are. Where did this speed come from? They were always fast, but now they're just as fast as they've been the whole race. Faster, actually. Biffle slides up in the middle of the corner a bit. Edwards going to gap him off turn 4. 16 to the 48 worked so hard to run down the 99. Now the 99 might be slipping away again. They'll be catching the odd lap car here and there. There's not going to be heavy lap traffic at all before the end, I don't believe. Unless we get a caution. Then the lap cars will be on the inside of the lead lap cars. Unless the restart came with less than 10 to go. Another 29-1 for Biffle. You know Jimmy Johnson wants to win so badly. Biffle's got to be careful not to hit that apron. He's clipped it twice today. He was able to save it both times. Well, the one time he kind of scraped the wall. He can't afford to lose that much time. So I think the 99 to 48 have been keeping up with adjustments just as much as Biffle has in this one. So they've all gotten faster. I believe that's Kenny Wallace in the 00 just up ahead. He'll be the lapper. Biffle into the wall off turn 4. He was getting tight as they were exiting the corner. Edwards going to pull away into turn 1. Lap car going to get out of the way. Edwards sliding up. Not clear yet of the lap car of Kenny Wallace. Now he's clear into 3. Back into the clean air again. Last lap not as good for Biffle, but that was because he got in the wall off turn 4. Kenny Wallace going to move out of the way in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Biffle barely cleared him, but he did. Clean pass. And he might have gotten around him just a skosh quicker than Carl Edwards. Johnson as well gets by Wallace pretty quickly. Biffle trying to run down Edwards again after getting in the wall. A 29.109 that last lap for Biffle. Another quickest lap of the race. Slip it up a little bit in 1 and 2. You're pushing this hard. Harder than you have all race long. You're bound to make minor mistakes. So who can minimize those minor mistakes the most? Jimmy Johnson starting to fade again. He's going to need the 99 and the 16 to battle. Biffle's having a hard time just trying to get to Edwards. He's got to be aggressive getting close to that white line without touching it. Corner after corner at this point. So close to getting underneath the 99, but not quite there. He's getting off the corners better than Edwards initially. Edwards, though, a little wider, so he's able to use maybe a slight bit more banking. Into 3 and 4, though. Biffle underneath him. Side by side for the lead. It's still door-to-door on the front stretch. Biffle led that lap by inches at the line. Into turn 1. Still side by side. Biffle and Edwards going at it. Biffle not clear yet. 20 to go. What a battle. Edwards holding on strong on the outside. Right rear really starting to slip away in the 16. Biffle clear off turn 4. He'll move up and block at the start-finish line. Back to the bottom as well. That's what Johnson needs back there in 3rd. This is kind of like 2011. Gordon and Johnson, only it's Biffle and Edwards with a couple teammates. But Johnson's lurking. This may end up like Craven Bush and Dave Blaney's in 3rd, but Jimmy Johnson's Dave Blaney in this case. Biffle, 18 to go, leads, but Edwards may try to get him arrow loose. Biffle can't afford that to happen. Biffle got a gap Carl Edwards just a bit off of turn 2. I'm glad he's kind of running a slightly different line. He's about a half a lane, if not more, different in the middle of the corners, which is helping Biffle not get arrow loose, so he's able to keep control of his car a bit more. If he gets more towards the left rear corner panel, though, on the other hand, rather than the right rear, then that air could be taken away. Just like that. You saw that little skirt by Greg Biffle in the middle of 1 and 2, and it was because of Edwards underneath him! Oh, he barely kept it off the wall. Oh my gosh. He was kind of loose getting in, but then he was loose off as well. I don't know how Greg Biffle kept it off the wall that time. That was incredible. I thought I was gonna. I thought for a second I was gonna end up right hooking Edwards when I got that loose. Biffle held on to it. That's not what he needed to try to conserve these tires to continue to battle Carl Edwards. I want to talk about the edge of control. $14 to go. Still a 29.163. It's loose, but it's still fast. Usually I get in that circumstance that I wreck, I feel like, every time. Biffle clips the apron. Barely kept it off the wall again. Oh my gosh. Just dirt tracking it off turn 2. Holy Hellacia. Reel it in, reel it in. I'm just managing the throttle so much when I feel it start to slip out from under me. It slips out a little more than some other points. It's just on how steady I can hold the analog stick in the middle of the corner. We got a championship on the line, though, between these two. These guys are not giving each other much room. You wouldn't think they're teammates. $11 to go at the line. All 4 tires in the yellow and the tire wear indicator right now. And Mark, you are right in the sense that Edwards did stay out longer than both Johnson and Biffle. Which could be a reason as to why he maybe has a little bit more grip than the 48 and the 16 right now. Still running 29.1s, 10 to go. Biffle's so close to that white line in the middle of the corner. Still got loose. He never even touched the apron that time. I'm having to back it up so far going into the corner just to try to keep it from getting too loose on entry, too. We might see pit stops one more time also. I don't know. We have 9 to go. Biffle pitted with 48 laps left. And he's only down to about 1/8 of a tank of fuel left. I'm not sure how he has burned through as much gas as he has this run, but he has. I haven't seen anybody else pit yet. But we may see pit stops one more time. We're down to just 8 laps to go. I don't know how we're going to be short. We made it 60 laps twice. Car in the wall off turn 2. That lapper up ahead was sparking. I don't think pushing too hard has anything to do with fuel, though. Like, I'm running faster laps, but by like half a tenth, you know? Like, it's not like it's a couple tenths quicker than what I've been running the whole race. Oh, we have 6 laps to go at the line. And the Edwards-Biffle showdown at Atlanta. Michael Waltrip, lap car coming up. I don't think Biffle's going to make it on fuel, but will everybody else? I mean, caution comes out with 5 or less laps left in this race. It'll end the race as well. And we're down to 5 to go right now. Biffle going for the lead into turn 1, but Edwards throws the block. Biffle, really low exit. Scrapes the wall. Trying to get off of it. A little too low. We've got cars running out of gas. Cars are running out of gas. I just saw 2 cars pit that time off turn 4. Greg Biffle may not be the only one running dry. And this may be a fuel mileage race all of a sudden. And we know Biffle probably can't make it to the end. He's going to stay out this time in case we get a caution. Trying to get by the lapper of Michael Waltrip. This is going to be a tough task, too. Yikes. Extremely loose off turn 4. Biffle's losing Edwards. Biffle's got to pit this time. 2 to go at the line. Waltrip's pitting. Splash and go for Greg Biffle. He is in. Splash and go for Greg Biffle. That is unbelievable. He's 2 laps short on fuel. I pitted with 48 laps to go and it ran out in 46 laps. That is a heartbreaker. I mean, we ran out. I think Jimmy Johnson just pitted. I can't tell if that was Johnson or not up there. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go for Carl Edwards. Pull up right in front of Kyle Petty. We need to hold on to every position we can. Carl Edwards is going to capture the checkered flag to get his 2nd win of his rookie season. Edwards has just won at Atlanta. Oh, he just got Biffle arrow loose. Biffle's in the wall off turn 4. What is he doing? He already won. He already won, and he almost costed Biffle another spot. Biffle just got into Petty off of the exit of the corner there. It'll be a 19th place finish for Greg Biffle. He almost costed us another spot after he won. They need to take his win away for that. What the heck? He never touched me, but man, I cannot believe I was 2 laps short. I wouldn't have pitted when I did. I short pitted, but we made it 60 laps earlier. We made it 60 laps twice. And I only went 48 to the end? I thought I took full tank of fuel. Let me go back and check. Maybe I didn't take a full tank. I could have swore I did, though. Yeah, I'm going back to look. Maybe that's what I was thinking. I'm going back and looking at it right now just to see. Maybe I didn't get a full tank. I thought I did, though. No, I had a full tank. I went back and looked. I'm looking at the pit crew just to make sure they didn't fumble the pit stop. I'm looking at the gas man. I mean, that's just insane. I fought so hard. It would have been one thing to finish second because I was driving the wheels off and Edwards was just doing everything he needed to do. I was driving the wheels off my car to try to keep up with him. I couldn't quite get back alongside of him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how we were 12 laps shorter on fuel than what I had bet. 14, really, because I ran out with 2 to go. I mean, we pushed the fuel as far as we could, too, so. I don't know. I mean, that's unfortunate, because that cost us a lot of points. We went from finishing first or second to finishing 19th, and Carl Edwards is going to be the new points leader. So we just lost points to the points leader who won the race. You know, second place, we still would have lost a little bit of points to him, but I mean, that's an unfortunate finish for what was just a great race and a good race for Biffle, too. I led some laps, ran top 3 almost the whole race, and just, I don't know, just ran out of gas. I mean, the fuel tank is a little different. The fuel tank is a little bit different because it was a 50% race. But even still, like, I was able to go 60 the first 2 runs with no cautions. First 2 full green flag runs. Then we only go 48 to the end. If I could go back and redo that, I wouldn't have pitted when I did. But then we would have been further behind Edwards trying to catch up too. So it would have... We would have obviously made it on gas to the end. I don't know that we would have had that great battle like we saw. Yeah, I don't know. 3 cautions for 9 caution laps, 16 lead changes, 3.4 seconds margin of victory for Carl Edwards over Jimmy Johnson, but it was not that close. It was not that far away. It was very close between Biffle and Edwards there towards the end. As you saw, 160.03 miles per hour was the average race speed. 1 hour, 33 minutes total time on the second race today. Race 2 was a little bit longer by about 6 minutes than race 1, but we also had 2 more cautions too, so that was the difference maker. Carl Edwards leads 61 laps, gets the win. That is going to be a max points day for him. Jimmy Johnson finishes second, still awaiting that first win of the year. He led 1 lap, and then Biffle took the lead away from him after he led that said lap. Matt Kenseth and Mickey Wayne for Edwards. Kenseth ends up finishing 3rd. Jeff Gordon finishes in 4th. Started on the pole, led the first 23 laps. Didn't lead after that, but still stayed top 5 the rest of the day. Elliott Sadler. I mean, he was fading middle of the race, fell back to about 10th, ends up finishing 5th. Tony Stewart led 1 lap, finished 6th. He won the first race tonight at California. Kevin Harvick finishes 7th, Dale Jarrett 8th, Bobby Labonte 9th. Kurt Busch rounds out the top 10 in tonight's race. And I believe we had just 20 cars finished on the lead lap. I guess I wasn't even battling Kyle Petty for position at the end. So that was kind of all for naught. Petty was a lap down. We were on the lead lap. I led 61. Wait, how many did Edwards lead? Oh, yeah, he led 61 also. So we tied for the most laps led. I mean, you want to talk about a fight to the finish. So both Edwards and Biffle will get 10 bonus points because they tied for the most laps led. So that makes me feel a little bit better, but not really. I mean, that's 5 points is 5 points, but could have had a lot more. I'm just, my brain is not working correctly. I mean, in the sense that I don't know how, there's no justification for how we went that short on fuel. Was I pushing a little bit harder? Yes. But even though our lap times were quicker than they had been the whole race, they weren't that much quicker. I was like a half a tenth quicker at most on my quickest laps versus before that run. Oh well. Farm Boy 2, thanks for tuning in. I see you in the chat. Alright, well, we'll check out the points. Oh, wait, I gotta check see who all DNF'd. I saw Mike Bliss blow an engine earlier. Tough break for him. Let's see. Jamie McMurray, Jeff Burton. I saw Brian Vickers blow an engine. Mike Bliss blew an engine. That was it. 4 drivers DNF'd. Mark Martin finished 26th. The other 3 Roush cars ended up in the top 10. Kenseth kind of had a quiet day, finishing 3rd. Well, here's Carl Edwards in victory lane. Another win for Jack Roush this season. I mean, Biffle has to congratulate Edwards on that one. I mean, those two were fighting it for the finish. It's fitting that I was there with them in victory lane. Was that a passing of the torch moment for the season championship? Our next race is going to be at Infineon, of course, now known as Sonoma Raceway. And the rest of the races this season will all be 100% races, as we have just 10 races to go. And I think we have 4 road courses left. Let me check. Maybe 5. So we have Infineon. And then 2 races after that, we have the Phoenix Infield Road Course. And then about 4 races after that, we go to Dockside, which is a street course race. And then we go to Old Spice Speedway right after that, so we have back-to-back road courses. And the Dockside and Old Spice Speedways races, those are both 500 miles. Those are both 500-mile road course races, so those are probably going to be the longest races of the season. And then we go to Talladega for the championship after that. So we have 4 road courses still in these final 10 races. And so far in the road courses, Greg Biffle's been pretty good. He DNF'd at the Texas Roval, but outside of that, before that, for road course finishes, 1 at Speedway Boulevard, 1 at Devil's Canyon, finished 3rd at Watkins Glen. I guess I DNF'd at the Talladega Roval as well. What's up with me DNFing at Rovals? Might want to be careful at Phoenix. So outside of Rovals, I've done good. 1 at New York Metro Speedway. Daytona Road Course I won. So I won that Roval, but the other 2 I DNF'd. I don't know. Alright, well, that's going to end tonight's stream. Oh, hang on, I didn't check the point standings yet. My bad. My bad. We're not ending it. Carl Edwards, 33-point lead. Figured he'd take over the points lead. Greg Biffle still 4th. Goes from 70 points out of 1st into the 2nd race tonight to now, unfortunately, 142 back. So that points lead is more than doubled over Biffle after that Atlanta race, despite Biffle just... I mean, I couldn't have ran any better. That edge of control and hanging on to it and still keeping up with Edwards there, running my fastest laps of the race with how edgy that car was at the end of the run. I can't complain about my effort because it was there and I didn't make any mistakes with it. I mean, there were minor mishaps where I kind of scraped the wall or got really loose, but I mean, you guys saw how loose the car was. I'm sure all of us would have had those same issues. Some of us probably would have been able to hang on to. Some of us all together as a group wouldn't have been able to. I've had times where I haven't been able to when the car's that loose, but tonight I was able to hold on to it. It sucks that the nights where I can't hang on to it, you know, those are frustrating, but I have myself to blame. I can't blame myself for this finish. I ran a perfect race for my standards, and just I mean, even strategy-wise, taking the 2 tires earlier to end up getting the most laps led. It's still up there. If I didn't take 2 tires earlier in the race, I would not have led the most laps. So that saved me at least 5 more bonus points. That's just tough. That's tough. 10 to go. 142 back. Jeff Gordon's only 6 behind us. We're only 19 ahead of Jimmy Johnson, who finished 2nd tonight as well. Tony Stewart up to 7th. He had a good night. Couple of top 5s. Yeah, 33 points. It's still very tight. It is very tight. We have 2 super speedways, 4 road courses, 2 short tracks, and 2 intermediates. That's the rest of the schedule. A lot of diversity in these final 10 races. Be sure to hit that like button if you haven't done so already tonight. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I'll be back and better than ever again on Friday with you guys, as we'll be doing our Throwback Thursday event on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it'll be a Flashback Friday. I think Michael Turner called it in the chat a couple days ago. So it's not a Throwback Thursday this weekend. It's a Flashback Friday. But that'll be at 6 p.m. Vote in the community tab for what Daytona 500 you want me to watch of the 4 that I have listed for this coming weekend. I'll see you guys Friday night. Have a happy Thanksgiving. My thanks to you all for being on this journey and helping me grow the channel over these last couple years. Not final couple years, but the last couple years. And we're going to continue to grow things, obviously, into next year and beyond. And appreciate, again, the support as always. And as always, on the road to becoming a NASCAR commentator for future real races in the NASCAR realms. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your night. Happy Thanksgiving.